Well, now it says I'm live. Howdy, folks. I'm not sure what happened earlier. I am live now, and it's still trying to load this control room thing. Um, at least now it says that I am live, and that now I can stop the broadcast if I need to. Yeah, there it is. There was an error loading your app. This app did not load because there appears to be something wrong with it. Well, I downloaded it from, Google's site. What possibly could be wrong? Oh, there went something there. I was all prepared, and I really did. I had all my stuff together, and then when I went to go live earlier, I had so much difficulty with getting online and getting this stupid app to load. And it kept giving me error messages, etc. And now I can't find where I put my notes down. And that just, you know. So I'm going to give, since I had so much trouble, what I had planned, I'm going to have to redo. But what I can do right now is give you information that I hope may help out. Now, I've been trying to upload videos for a while to YouTube. On my channel, there's a few weird things up there, some of which I might take back down, but I'm leaving them up just for the heck of it, But one of the things that I wish to bring to people's attention is that this entire thing of being awake. What does awake mean? I'm sure if you've been on the internet, if you've been on YouTube at all, there are folks talking about, ooh, are you awake? How awake are you? Etc., etc., etc. My apologies. I'm trying to find out what I did with that deadgum paper I had with all my notes and everything. That just irritates me, I get everything all set up and prettified, and then I turn around and doggone if it ain't gone. Well, okie doke. Oh, is that it? Oh. Sorry about this. I thought I had it there in front of me there. All right, I'll continue on with a topic. Now, there are things that are going on in the universe that where the most folks are getting disinformation about, and it has to do with things that are going on in our solar system. And I hate it when my glasses are on. Oh, now they can ID me for my visual thingy. Okay. In watching all the channels and everything that I do to keep an eye on things, I've been trying to warn folks, and I found out that the best way to warn folks or give them different information is to pop into some of these live chats on these channels that I frequent. And sometimes I just pop in here and there, and I watch to see what folks are talking about. Now, several months ago, folks were talking about, the end of the world is coming because of September 23rd. Well, my birthday happens to be September 24th, just by the way. And so it's always been curious to me that the world's going to end around my birthday. One of these years, maybe. Now, what has happened in it's the autumnal or fall equinox, and it's when the sun comes back down over the equator and heads south to South America, Africa, etc., south of the equator. And now their summer is coming and our winter is coming. So they're in their springtime while we are in our fall. So the equinox is supposed to be big time as far as energy from the solar system and the sun and all the electromagnetics that go into our association with the rest of the planets in our solar system, and also what happens in our solar system affects the rest of the galaxy, believe it or not. Now, in one of the chat rooms, the discussion today was, is our solar system entering a different part of the Sagittarius constellation? And my guess would be, yeah. And the reason is because our solar system isn't stagnant. It doesn't just sit in one spot and everything twirl around the sun. No, it doesn't work like that. The sun is actually beelining it through our universe like this. And behind it, we, the planets, are being sort of dragged in behind the sun. All right? In a kind of sort of way like a comet is. Okay? Think of the sun as a comet zipping through the universe, okay? And yeah, we've been headed toward the Sagittarius constellation for a while. And thing is, NASA drops hints, but people go like, what was that? And then they just put out a blurb. It might still be on their site, it may not be, but they'll put out a blurb 10 years ago. And the blurb is, you know, oh, in 20 years, we're going to be going through a very dense section of our galaxy or the solar system or wherever we're at in space in this time. And so, you know, that was in the 1990s. So I've been waiting all these years now, I'm almost 30 years, to see what this dense section of our solar system or the galaxy actually is. Well, if you look at the LASCO and the SETI satellites that are pointed at our sun, a couple of them are like on the backside, one's over here, and then one's like the point of view from the Earth. Well, if you notice in some of these, if you ever watch them, there are stars in the background, and they move very slowly. As the frame goes by, you can see these stars, and it'll move a little bit, move a little bit, move a little bit, move a little bit, move a little bit. Then there are the ones that flash into existence for one frame and then disappear in the next frame. Well, the frames are taken so many minutes apart. I think there's one of them that takes a picture like every 12 minutes. And then the every 12 minutes are looped together into a small video. I don't have one queued up. However, recently, and you can go to BP Earthwatch or, oh, I can't think of it now. But you can go to the JPL website and you can look for these LASCO, SETI satellites that are looking at the sun. And you can look at the sun in different arrays. And there are some of them that will show the background behind our sun better than others. Well, in those, you'll see streaks. You'll see groups of 10, maybe 20 what look like stars now, light up that disappear in the next frame. Now, a lot of folks over the last 20 years have been looking at these videos. And I'm here to tell you, if you slow some of them down and zoom in, I had a video that I did earlier, and right in the middle of the daggum live feed, YouTube shut me off. My Chromebook shut down. It took me 2 days to get it back to even log back onto the internet. They don't like me discussing these things. Now, who am I? I'm just David Null. I was born in 1952. I'm 65 years old. I am trained as an engineer, as a draftsman, as a 3D AutoCAD operator. I have worked in as an architect, as a carpenter. I have worked steel. The highest was 100 feet straight down. There was nothing in below us, just 100 foot up, you know. So I've worked steel, carpentry. I worked as a machinist for many years before I got my degree in drafting, which also helped prove my engineering skills, because if an engineer brings you a drawing and puts it down in front of you and says, okay, here's a block of metal, make this thing. Well, you got to be careful, because if you don't know what this thing is going to bolt up to next, the two might not match up. and that engineer is going to come out and he's going to scream bloody murder that you put that hole in the wrong place. Well, I found out a long time ago that a lot of machinists are actually better engineers than engineers, because a lot of engineers have never been a machinist. I won't go into that much, but to the point, it takes a lot of like pre-thought. In my case, I'm able to see things like sort of in a 3D way in my mind's eye. And like a lot of artists do, especially graphic artists or painters, I can't paint. I can do some things, but the folks who can take a pencil and make a few lines and show that there is depth and all this, I'm not very good at that. However, I understand it. I understand perception. I understand dimensions. I understand, let's see, no, that's not perception. Perspective. There you go. So example, if you're standing here and the sun's over there, and then the light should come down in from the viewer's perspective, then the shadow should be in a particular way. And so, by the way, that's how a lot of folks have been able to look at the NASA, never a straight answer, folks, about the how the light and the shadows are on the pictures from the moon. Now, there's just one in particular picture, and I still say it's a scream. There is a picture of the lander, and right beside the lunar lander on the moon, supposedly, is the rover. Now, there are no footprints around the rover. I mean, there are no track marks, nothing. So the folks who made that picture did not do it on the moon, because there should be footprints all around where they lowered this thing down. It should be rolled around. There should be tire marks. Nothing. It looks like somebody literally went in there and swept the surface of wherever they were and cleaned it. Not a footprint. I mean, did they just lift this thing up, the two of them, and set it down? They would still be footprints. I digress, as Richie from Boston would say. Now, the interesting things about our solar system, and I'm going to do some more updates. So this is just sort of a heads up, folks. This is some strange stuff coming our way. Now, the strange stuff coming our way is real simple. We are getting cosmic energy from the center of the galaxy, period. Now, it's been described as energy waves, and a year ago, March, yeah, because I don't think it was this March. It's been a year and a half ago now, but I actually literally saw a wave in the atmosphere. It was like, from looking up, it was like this wide, but it was from horizon to horizon, and I saw it just about sundown, just come over the earth from west to east. And it wasn't traveling very fast, but in the course of less than 5 minutes, it was beyond, it was to my other horizon to the east. And so also, I've known for a long time, since I was a little kid, like 7, 8 years old. And then about 11 is about where I can figure it out. It was about the time of the Kennedy assassination in November 1963. It was around that time, because my grandfather also passed away around that same time. So there were 2 deaths, quote, in the family, as we were Catholics. Then John Kennedy being Catholic, it was like one of us had died. Well, but it was that way for the entire Western world, really. I mean, Germany with Mein Berliner Statement, and, you know, to all of the others. America loved him, whether he was messing around with Maryland or not. That's, well, okay. But to the point, though, his actions were for you and me. Ask not what our country can do for you, but ask what you can do for our country. And I think we've forgotten that. I really do. I mean, that right there is, to me, even as a little kid at 11 or 12 years old, I still resonate that. Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And what's happened over these years is that we lost our country. The people we put into office have been there too long. I mean, Joe Biden, 35 years or more, 40 years. These people don't need to be in there that long. And here's the reason. It's because they become embedded. So I've worked in the industry of the auto industry as a machinist for 8 years. I saved one particular country, one particular company, $11 million in tooling, waste, etc., over a 7-year period that I worked there. Now, what I found out while I was there, the older the engineer and the longer they had been in the position that they were in, if they were having a problem out on the production floor, machines not working, they'd go, well, you know, this is how we fixed it before. Well, my job at that time was to fix those issues so they wouldn't keep popping up. And what I found out was if I went in, because I was an outsider, hadn't been there that long, and said, you know, I think this lineup is wrong and maybe we should modify this. Oh my God, these people went crazy. Who are you to tell me my job? And blah, blah, blah. There was one particular instance that this company was working on a project for Ford Motor Company of North America. There are two Fords, Ford America and Ford of Europe, by the way. So this was for Ford America. Now, this gentleman who said that he worked for Boeing and was an aircraft designer, engineer, high-tech dude, got a grant from Ford for $75,000 to build a couple of prototypes of a machine to see if we could do what they were asking us to do. Now, this gentleman had 19 different designs. Some of them were similar. Some of them were just so outlandish. So I was asked to go in on the project because he was lagging behind and nothing worked. So as I went in there, he was like, well, who are you? Who did you work for? And I was like, look, man, I used to build airplanes, okay? I used to build them, all right? So I know about drawings and FFA. Don't try to squirrel me, bud. You know, what are you talking about? Where are you coming? Have you ever drilled and tapped a hole before? So I just kept my mouth shut, but he was always push, push, push. Now, my boss was like, Dave, come over here. We need to talk about this. What's he doing? And I said, well, he's got 19 different designs. 3 of them had been, you know, prototyped, and they've tried them, and none of them work. And, well, what is your suggestion? I said, well, he's got the first and his second ideas, which are closer to me, to being something that will work. On the other hand, when I went and asked this guy, I said, why are you doing all these weird designs and none of them are working? And he said, well, they sent me $75,000. And if I don't use most of it up, then the next time I ask for money, they won't give me as much. And I'm like, what? So in his, you know, embedded job, he's getting 75 grand from Ford. And basically, there's a pile of tool steel, which are really expensive, sitting on the floor of his office that none of it works, and you can't do anything with it because it's been hardened, extremely hardened. So my point to this engineer and other engineers, it's not just that. I've worked in other fields. The master carpenter. I said it should go like this, and you should follow me. Well, I would look at the same drawings, and I started drafting in high school in 1968. So I know about drawing. I know about drafting. I know what things are supposed to mean. So I would call things out and go, are you sure about this here on this blueprint? What about this? And flip it over. Well, come to find out, they were working on a third. It was about a 5-story building in Tampa at the time. And we were on about the 3rd floor. And I asked the question, well, 2nd floor doesn't look like this. Where the boards are and where you got this, are they supposed to be the same? Well, it's the 3rd floor. Well, that wasn't the point, but it's the 3rd floor. It's not supposed to look like the 2nd floor. Okay. Well, come to find out, when the supervisor over all of the stuff came in, he goes, how come this 3rd floor looks so much different? And so the lead carpenter, well, blah, 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 blah. And I'm standing over on the side going, and the supervisor looks at me, what are you laughing about? I said, I told him 2 days ago it didn't look right, and he should check the drawing. Well, he wasn't checking the drawing. And what happened was the architect made a mistake. It was supposed to look like the 2nd floor, and the 4th floor, and the 5th floor. He made a mistake on the 2nd floor by a like 2-foot kind of mistake. So they had to call in the architect to fix the problem. But do you think that supervisor and that lead carpenter was very happy with me? Oh, hell no. I was 18 years old and fresh out of high school. I didn't know squat. I got fired 2 days later. On Friday, when the paychecks came out, also I got my notice. Bye-bye. You'll get a paycheck next week, and see you later. Interesting. So my point about that is that everywhere that I have worked, I've even worked for the government, for the weatherization program for 4 years, and then off and on for another 2 years. As I would go out to houses, check them, write them up, blah, blah, blah. And then when they were done, I would go back out and I would do a post-work write-up on it to make sure all the work got done as we had described. Even in the Department of Energy, these folks were squirreling money in side accounts and this account. They were buying materials and putting them in warehouses because they weren't sure they wouldn't get as much money next year. Now, to the point, though, they were buying insulation to put in poor people's homes. My point to that is, as a government entity, they were stealing. They were stealing for next year in case they didn't get the budget that they needed. So, my point is, they were all doing it. These guys who have been in there 20, 30, 40 years are so embedded in our government that on us, as Lionel would say, hand fart, I can't do it. But so I'll do it, lip fart. So the people in our government right now, and I'm just tossing this out because I can't think of any other, but like the FBI and the CIA and the national, where they spy on the NSA, there are people who have been in those positions for 30, 40 years. I'm sorry, but they need to resign. Why? Because they know too many secrets. They know too many squiggles. People got stuff on them and they've got stuff on other folks, and they don't want to give up their power. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not the money, it's power. Now, they get money with the power. That's not the point. So these folks have been lying. They've been cheating us. They have stolen from us. And they're not telling us what's going on for real out in the atmosphere, out in the universe, in our solar system. About 5 or 6 days ago, they spotted this incoming object from way out in deep space. Now, one scientist from NASA claimed, we've been waiting on this for years. What? They have never seen an object. They have never recorded an object. They're not sure if it's a comet. They downgraded and said, it's not a comet. We're going to make it an asteroid. So now it's an asteroid coming in from deep space, from near Lyra, I think, the constellation Lyra. Now, the statement that that scientists made, well, we've been waiting on this thing for years, but they've never seen one, but now they've been waiting on it. Something doesn't. There's something missing in there. He didn't say that they had hypothesized that possibly something would enter. They didn't say this, yada, yada, blah, blah. No. They just said, oh, we've never seen one. Oh, my God, but we've been waiting on one. Does that make sense? It's foggy to me. So they've got incoming from deep space. Well, now, in the channels and things, and all you have to do, you want to know the information I've gotten? It's not all on YouTube. I get information from other sources as well. However, they conclude and concur with some of my conspiracy channels, let's say. And all you have to do is look in my video thing on liked videos or who I've subscribed to. Go through there. I've got like 200 and something channels that I monitor on a daily basis when my internet doesn't or my computer doesn't fry. So if you study 200 plus video channels, feeds, opinions I've been doing this for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. 2009 comes up and 2018 is coming, so 9 and 9 is 18. 8 years. But simply put, by being a watcher, and if somebody in a weird conspiracy chat or channel or YouTube interview makes a comment about, oh, blah, 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 solar system, blah, 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 I kind of park it in the back of my head. Okay, because I'm interested in these things, right? So then what happens next? Well, if you said, well, this is going to happen in the next year. Oh, so okay, next year, blah, blah, blah. Well, did it ever happen? Well, some of these folks, their timeline has been off. That's another subject. The timeline has been off, like, oh, this should happen by January. It might have been March, or it might have been the following January. Now, to our space brothers and sisters up there, a year to them is like 10 minutes, okay? So a year to us is like a really long time. But out yonder, that's not the same. It's only relative to us on this planet at this time. If you go to Mars, time's different. If you go to Venus, time's different. You go to Jupiter, time's different. You go to Saturn, time's different, etc. Out in space, when you're not on a planetoid type body, then time is absolutely different because you're not on a spinning ball or whatever. So, where was I headed with that? The incoming objects, and by the way, there is a comet that's headed in towards the sun. And here's a little bit for comets, okay? Oh, the debris tail. Well, a couple of years ago, if you remember, they landed a probe on top of a comet while it was moving. And they were expecting dust and all these particles and things fizzing off of this rock and creating this tail out into space, the debris tail, okay? Now, what they found was that it was just a rock, but it was hauling tail through space. Now, they still haven't made a comment about, well, you know, the debris tail and all the dust particles flying. There were no dust particles flying off of it. It wasn't an icy ball. It wasn't this blah, blah, blah. They have lied to us. And they still are. After landing a probe on one of them, they still tell us that there is this dust debris field behind the comets caused by the comets. If it's just a rock, and it's flying through space, and you landed on one and there's nothing coming off of it, as an icy ball traveling through space, they have told me for years since I was a child. For the last 55 years, they've been telling me that comets are icy balls. And I thought about it, and I'm like, if it was traveling through space, I mean, even if it's cold out there and it's flinging off stuff, wouldn't after a while it would only be as big as a pea? I mean, I saw Halleys Comet when it was here. Intense, I can assure you. But after all the years going out and coming back, and it's going to be back in a few more years. I think it's like 70 years or something. Is it still going to be the same ball of ice that they tried to tell us, way back when and before then? So now they got this comet that's on the radar. It's headed toward the sun. That part's true. Now they're trying to tell us again that the particles from this comet are leaving a debris trail that will turn into meteors in a meteor shower at some future point in time. Well, number one, the sun is not sitting still in the universe. It's moving at like 75,000 miles an hour or something toward somewhere, Sagittarius maybe. So we're not in the same position when Halleys Comet passed 70 years ago, or however many. I think it was in the 80s that Halleys Comet came by. So what? We've moved since then. We cannot be in any debris trail of any comet. The Orionid meteor shower, oh my God, we're not in the same position. Now, during that time of year there, we do have a tendency to have things come in, but I don't believe for a second it has anything to do with the comet. We are going through a particular section of space that is more prone during the wintertime to go through this debris field in space. It's not because of the comet. They just attach it to that because they got it. Well, we're not sure where it comes from. It's just sitting out there. We're going to blame it on the comets. That's our answer, and we're sticking to it. Do you get it? Do you get the idea that right in front of us, even though they landed on one, it's still got dust and ice blowing off of it? Well, maybe this one's different from the rest of them. No, they're rocks flying through space. And do they come back on a regular basis? Yes, that part's true because we've seen them, okay? Some of them are short term. They come in every 10 years, 12 years. Some of them take 100. They're still coming in. That part I do not disagree with, okay? Now, comet tails. Now, I don't know if any of you who might watch this, hopefully a few, share, like, and all the above stuff, is that I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and in the summertime when it was warm, and I'd also heard about the South Pacific during like World War II with the PT boats, and they would always talk about the phosphorus. When I was growing up, I read a lot of PT 109 because John Kennedy was a PT boat captain. His boat got sliced in half. His crew were in the water for a while, and even with his bad back, he was still able to save, I think, most of his crew. An act of heroism. And so I've read a lot about PT boats and what was going on. And they describe PT boats in the South Pacific, I would imagine it's still true today, that in the summertime, especially when the ocean is warm, there are plankton and phosphorus, okay? And so when a boat goes through the water at nighttime, I'm sure it happens in the daytime, you just can't see it, but at nighttime, and especially the fuller the moon, the more the light interaction. But as you plow through the water, your wake behind the boat glows because it is agitated the plankton and the phosphorus in the water, and it glows. Now, back in 70, 71, 72, I was taking a lot of drugs. So we would go out to Tampa Bay, take a hit of acid. Oh, those were the days. And we'd go swimming in the phosphorus. Now, there were times where I would go underwater and do your hands like this, and everything would glow with a beautiful sort of a blue, not xylem stick, the kind you break and you shake and they have colors, the blue ones. To me, the colors I remember, it was more on the blue shade rather than green. Now, that could have been the moonlight, whatever. However, the point is, as you moved your hands or feet or kick the water, whatever you do to agitate the water, those little plankton would glow. Now, I propose, I have not heard anyone else discuss this. I propose that the comet's tail is because there are similar objects, just, tiny little particles, that when something goes screaming by it, it lights up like the phosphorus does in the water in the Pacific. I'm not sure about the Atlantic. I know the Gulf did it. And also in the, Tampa Bay at times. So phosphorus is a real thing. It does glow in the dark. So why can't dark matter, which isn't dark, it's just opaque, and what's behind it is so far away, it appears dark. So if we had a spaceship that would go fast enough, which we do, but that's another question, it would probably light up behind it. And I don't mean from the rocket, but I mean simply because the rocket was agitating the quote atmosphere around it, which there's not supposed to be an atmosphere in space, but I bet you there is. It's not what they tell us. And by atmosphere, I don't mean you can breathe it, but there are things that can live in space that we just don't know about, like tiny little particles that would glow if a big rock went by. Why not? If it can happen in the ocean, why can't it happen in space? And to me, that's the only logical explanation for a comet's tail. I'm sorry. Now, with that, though, is I believe in the electric universe. Thornhill, I think, there's a YouTube's out about the electronic universe. I suggest you read up on it or watch some videos because it's true, okay? Where everything is connected electrically and magnetically, which in a way, you get electricity from magnetism, and you can make magnetism with electricity. So I don't say that the two are mutually exclusive of one or the other. I think the electricity and the magnetism work together for a third part, which is resonance in our universe. And they're finding that out to be more true than not. They just don't say anything. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a little quick update of some of the things that has been said on the intel that I've been paying attention to over the years. Now, this is far-fetched, just, if you will, bear with me. If you're still here, then thank you. Now, what seems to be happening, and I've been watching the Earth, I've got a sundial, I've got it's parts and pieces of a telescope. It's working, but not like it should. I do have some very good binoculars, 3 different pair of 3 different magnifications. One pair is like this big, and I had to mount on a tripod to hold it still. Cameras, digital zooms, extra zooms, blah, blah, blah. And over the years, I have watched. My house is a passive solar house, so it's facing south. At 12 o'clock every day, the sun is supposed to be, there's supposed to be a shadow in my windowsill. And every day at 12 o'clock, it should be relatively in the same place. Guess what, folks? Last 2 years, especially last year, nowhere near it. On Monday, okay, at 12 o'clock, I drew a line on my windowsill. Okay, so a couple days later, I noticed that at 12 o'clock, it hadn't reached the line yet, which meant it was 11 o'clock by where the sun was. So I made another line on the windowsill. A couple days later, I look out. I checked it every day now. And so 3 or 4 days in a row, boom, boom, boom. 12 o'clock mark, right on the button with the clock. And I would check. I mean, a couple minutes, but, on Thursday from Monday, now it's an hour late of 12 o'clock reaching that line. 2 days later on Sunday-ish, it's past the 12 o'clock line. So my line said it should be 12 o'clock. The sun was telling me it should be 12:31. So I started checking. So now I don't get the sun in my windows during the summer because the sun is overhead. Now that the sun is back in my windows, and I've got a sheet of cardboard, poster board, that I place in the windowsill, and then I do colored lines for, like, okay, this is Monday, it's green, Tuesday's red, Wednesday's blue, whatever. If it's hits on the same day or within it, I give it some slop, okay? I don't try to be exact with it. However, I noticed that already this year, we've started the wobble, okay? The sun is not at my 12 o'clock position on the windowsill the same day every day. It's not. It's changing. It's about 30 minutes slow one day, and a couple days later, it'll be right on the mark. A couple days later, it's 30 minutes fast. Now, I'm going to try to do a chart this year, and to show folks that, okay, on these days, up and down, up and down. Also, I was going to look at where the moon is in relationship to where the wobble is of the earth, because both of them are moving. All right. I have a compass set on the floor that I drew marks on the floor in deep marks. It's my old Boy Scout compass from 1964, 65, and through until I got out of Boy Scouts. I've kept it all these years. Now, I have watched magnetic north change from dead north in 2009 to north by northwest, which is about 20 degrees off of true magnetic north. Now, I know the magnetic north can wobble by itself. However, I've noticed, though, that I would, if the sun was in the wrong place in the sky on a particular day, I would go over and check the compass. And I'd look down and go, it's 2 or 3 degrees off from where it was like the day before. There are big marks and little marks on the compass, and I can tell where the needle is. Well, it was on the dot yesterday, and today it's past the dot and pushing the little hash mark. That's several degrees in 2 or 3 days. Now, can the earth wobble around and slish slosh? Oh, yeah. I would have. If you'd asked me this question this time last year, I'd say, hell no. The earth can't slow down or speed up that much in 1 or 2 or 3 days. I've seen it be late an hour and a half in the morning and then be an hour fast at the end of the day. In less than 6 hours, it would wobble that much, and the earth would either speed up, slow down, whatever it was doing, in order for the sun to be in the correct spot on my sundial, which is my windowsill. It's been there for 30 years. My windows have not changed direction. They're still in the same spot. Now, with that said, I've started observing the moon to see if it had an effect on what the sun was doing. And, well, the sun's not moving, in my opinion. The earth is wobbling, slowing down, speeding up. It may be caused by the sun, but I don't think the sun's literally going up and down in the sky or it's slowing down because we're going around the sun, for all you flat earthers. Sorry. Now, so I started observing the moon. Well, as watching the sun, setting this up, blah, 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 I noticed that, like right now, I was out earlier this evening, about 9 o'clock, I guess, Eastern time. And we got a, half moon. Cool. Now, where that half moon is in relationship to like me standing vertical, if the sun was overhead, it would be 90 degrees or 0 degrees, actually, and 90 would be, the horizon. Correct? At full moon, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago? What? Anyway, last full moon, when I went to look for the moon, I can usually spot it through a window sitting downstairs looking out my south-facing windows. And I can usually have to just kind of lean over a little bit and there'll be the moon. Well, this last full moon, I had to go outside and look it felt like more than straight up. I'd never seen the moon that high directly over my house. I never, ever. And I love to watch the moon and stars and stuff since I was a little kid. So the moon is what seemed to be past 90 degrees over my head, at least by 5 degrees. Now, so when I checked the moon tonight, because we've had clouds and things, blah, 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 and haven't been able to see it. Tonight, I was out there and looking, and I was like, wow, look where, so I started looking up over here and over there, and blah, 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 do. And then I noticed I was like, well, what's that shiny thing in the sky over there? It's behind some trees. Now, the trees from where I stand at my house to where the pine trees are is at least 100, 150 feet away. And these pine trees, they're fairly tall, but not full-grown, mature pine trees. The sun was behind these things. So now I use a protractor, just a little plastic protractor. It's not up here, I don't think. Anyway, a plastic protractor. Looks like a half moon, straight thing. Got degrees on it, little hole in it for doing blah, blah, blahs, right? Okay, so protractor. Well, I might have one in that drawer. Anyway, so I tied a string to the center hole. And so I know straight up and down to me is 90. And so I'm looking at like, okay, what degree is this when I sight it? So here's straight up, and I take my string and I hold it out in front of me and I eyeball where the moon is. And then I look at the string on where it's sitting on the protractor. Okay. And it gives me a mark. It was 30 degrees off of 90. In 2 weeks' time, the moon went from straight over my head to 30 degrees south of me in 2 weeks. It's not supposed to do that, my friends. Nope. The moon does travel high-low, but it's supposed to take 14 years for that to happen, not 2 weeks. Now, I do have records, not with me. You're just going to have to trust me on this. But what I'm telling you is to go outside and observe for yourself. Watch where the sun comes up every day, if you can. I mean, at 8 o'clock, you might say, well, I didn't get up till 9:30. Well, go out at 9:30 or 10. It should be approximately where the other one was. Now, I did some tests last year, and I put up, they tell you in an old Boy Scout book, if you want to sight something, put 2 sticks in the ground. One stick, this is where you are, and the other stick, like at the North Pole. Okay, and you line the 2 of those sticks up like a gun sight or whatever. And so that when you get behind that one stick and look at the top of the other stick, there should be the North Pole. So that is what I did. And I did it with the North Pole. I did it with two different compasses, and they both were pretty close to where east should be magnetically. Now, I know that it swaps, but I had to start somewhere. So my baseline was due east for sunrise. So two sticks are still in the yard. So I lined it up, I took my camera and got just behind the first stick and lined it up so I could see the top of the second stick and started. Some mornings I couldn't do it, but every 2 or 3 mornings, I had a good sample of what was going on. And still, in 2 days' time, the sun should not move 10 degrees and then move back 2 days later. That's the Earth wobble. It's not the magnetic. I only use the magnetic portion to give me a baseline sight. So, but from that, those two sticks didn't move. Now, the magnetics, I didn't check it after that. Didn't matter because I was using that as my baseline. I wasn't worried about whether or not east was different magnetically through the days because I was trying to set up an observation point on the earth that I could reference every single day. And where is the sun compared to these two sticks I put up? And I'm telling you, folks, it scared the ever-loving crap out of me. I guess it was about January of last year when I started getting really good data because I had a baseline and I had, observations and checkpoints. And what I noticed scared the crap out of me. And what I mean by that is very simple. The Earth, if you think it would take 2 or 3 days for the Earth to flip over or change or blah, 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 you got another thing coming. Mother Earth, I believe now, could roll over in 10 hours easy. If it had the right stimuli or whatever it needed, the Earth could roll over. I have no doubt now because I said these people were talking about Nibiru and Planet X and all this stuff. Oh, well, it's going to flip the Earth upside down and it's only going to take, 4 hours or blah, blah, blah. I was like, nah. I got to have my own personal observations, which I set up as scientifically as I possibly could with what I have on hand. However, observing from 2 stationary points on a daily basis and watching movement left or right, so it scared the crap out of me because I realized the Earth could move a bunch in a short amount of time. Now, the Planet X thing, the Nibiru thing, Nibiru is real. However, the galactics, they parked it outside the solar system just enough so it is not bothering us. Planet X is not going to hit us. Planet X is not going to hit us. Planet X is not the reason we are having these solar system issues. It's coming from the galactic center and it's coming through our sun. Our sun is white to blue now, not yellow like I went with it when it was when I was a kid. Nope. It's different. Take a digital camera, go outside, find white balance on your camera settings and look at something white, okay? Let the camera choose. Now, you'll find out. Now, on my camera, I've got several Canon cameras. I don't have one nearby right now. It's downstairs. But on my camera settings, if I go into well, it has to do with, lighting, if you want like black and white or sepia or whatever, you want the camera to choose the color. Do you want daylight? Do you want cloudy day? Do you want fluorescent or do you want fluorescent 2? Well, fluorescent 2 ranges. I did a lot of video with theater and such in my past 25 years. And I noticed that when we were trying to videotape something, when we had certain gels, the filters over the bright lights, some, you know, we'd put in blue gels, red gels, whatever we needed to set the mood, right? Well, when we got into a certain purple blue gel with a tint of red on the side, one of them I think is like blushing pink or something, the camera had to be reset because what the eye of the camera was seeing as far as color was more to the blue shift. So I learned 15 years ago that if I was going to videotape in this setting, that I needed to change my setting on my camera to fluorescent 2 on that particular model of Canon. Now, so, okay, I haven't done theater in a couple of years, but the knowledge is still there. So when I started taking pictures with my newer camera with basically better settings and higher pixel ratings, thinking, yo, dude. So I go outside and the sun's going down, but it's not dark by any means, 2 hours before sunset. And I'm trying to take a picture of my house, the surroundings, the garden, and I put it on daylight. Well, the colors just aren't right. They're not right. I mean, the greens aren't quite green. The blues ain't blue. My white shirt ain't white, you know, even though I cleaned it. So then I go, well, let me flip through some of these settings. What I found out to my amazement 2 years ago is that fluorescent 2 on my camera. It's I can't remember. I've got several Canon cameras over the years. I hate Sony, by the way, but anyway, Nikon's okay. And I can't remember the other one. Anyway, but Canon has been my favorite. Now, because to me, it gave the best quality of what I was looking through in the viewfinder or what I would put up on the screen, because I checked. I was like, wait a minute. I've done video shop editing and 3D work and all my stuff, graphic arts. So what do? I don't trust the little viewfinder, which is very accurate, by the way, and put it on this computer. I've got another computer sitting next to me with a nice resolution, much bigger screen. Put it up there with the thing and blah, blah, blah. They all look the same. Not correct. Because I'm looking at it going, but that's not green. My truck is brown. Wait, whoa. So I realized then, because I'm looking at the sun, blah, blah, blah. Now this is maybe 3 years ago. Wait, what happened to the sun? It's not yellow anymore. What? It's more white, blue, something. What? Now, there are really big arguments in some of these chat rooms about, well, the sun is white. No, it's blue. No, it's white. No, it's blue. Well, it ain't yellow. I agree. So, but there's arguing about what shade of white / blue it is. Well, the reason I say it's towards the blue shift is because my camera says it's towards the blue shift because of the fluorescent 2 setting on my camera. And the reason I know that is I checked it against LED lights, different types of fluorescence inside control settings with a theater stage. And it's boom, right on the money. So it might appear white, but there is a blue tinge to it. And the camera, the cameras verify through the white balance that I am correct. Now I can take a picture inside my house with full sun coming through them. I got a 12-foot, 14-foot wall of nothing but windows, okay? A lot of sun comes in right about this time of year and through the winter. Free heat. But on a warm day, it's too much heat and I got to turn on some fans. Another story. Anyway, but there's just enough lead in the old windows in my house. I got them from older houses. So the sun coming in these windows Sometimes I have to use fluorescent 1, which is a little more to the yellow side, but not quite. But I can go outside with the same setting and it won't show the true colors. It won't show the grass the same green. It won't show the barn being brown, etc. Okay, so the sun has absolutely changed. Now, I have been contacted. I know y'all just gonna. Last July, I went to Ohio because my first wife, from like 1972, and my daughter, she called me up. Mom's in the hospital. She's going to have heart surgery. We got to go, Pops. So we just, in 6 hours, we were on the road, okay, heading towards Ohio. Well, they live around Chillicothe. Well, near Chillicothe is a Paleolithic site with what looks like painted symbols on a rock in the middle of nowhere, farmers' fields, okay? There's another petroglyph. There you go. It is a petroglyph, way old. Now, the Native Americans consider that place a very holy place. Now, I've got a video that says something like orbs in Ohio, or Ohio orbs and petroglyph, or something like that. And I made it last year when I got back. Well, during that time, I was contacted by one of the spirits who were there. They told me how to take pictures of them. And I have pictures of these beautiful sapphire blue orbs. Now, I've taken pictures of orbs before, but they've never, ever, never been all the same color. There are reds, there's oranges, there's yellows, there's pinks, there's bright blues, dark blues. None of the orbs are the same. Now, this entity who spoke in my head, very nice, very calm, asked permission. And my psychic friend who was there said there were also 3 other entities there. And we verified this because one of the entities, we learned later, that when she was present, there would always be 2 cats, meow kitty cats. Now, at 2 in the morning, we're at this place. I'm taking pictures with the flash and different variations because we have to leave the next morning, and it's my only chance to take any pictures. And I gotta be there for some reason. And the being told me that if I chose these settings on the camera and pointed it here and over here and over here, that I would see them. They were allowing me to take pictures because in the past, if I took pictures of orbs, they would kill my batteries dead. I went through 4 batteries one night and got 2 pictures. Okay. They don't like it sometimes. He gave me permission to take these pictures. Now, with that said, I've had little snippets of information, and they would tell me, watch this, or read this, or I'm on the computer, something just weird happens, and something would come up on a YouTube channel I'd never seen before. They're on some weird topic, blah, blah, blah. Nope, Dave, sit down. You need to watch this now. Well, they've been so right. The little voices in my head. So I asked that I wanted to be able to come back home and tell this story, but I needed proof. They knew I needed proof. That's why they let me take the pictures. They're on this YouTube channel, and I thought I'll do another, but I don't have the pictures loaded on this small computer notebook. It won't handle it. Okay, I have to get out some other stuff. The proof is they're all sapphire blue. The proof is they allowed me to take the pictures. And the proof is that I have been contacted before, or since, I should say. And one of them was, okay, if there is a space war going on, can you And will you show me proof? Okay. You don't have to come get me or take me off or anything. Is there any way that you can give me visual proof to me that what I'm hearing in my head, which is very common, very nice, I must admit, it's really tough to explain, but others who channel and do things, I'm not channeling. These guys are like talking, okay? And very calm, very smooth, etc. Never anything bad. Oh, go kill, blah, nah, none of that stuff. These folks are here to help us, and they're trying to help us. And the reason I'm here tonight trying to do this again is because this information is real. So back about May of this year, it might have been April. I don't think it was March. It was further on in the spring, getting warm outside. So one evening I was outside, I'm gardening, cleaning up the place, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm outside. It's almost dark, okay? There's a good bit of, light in the western sky, that dusky thing, Well, out from Tallahassee area, which from my position here in South Georgia, Tallahassee is almost due south of me, almost. And so I was just looking at the sky, and I seen this orange-ish orb. At first, I thought it was a planet. Then I thought it was something else. But then it just kept moving at a steady pace from a little bit of south-southwest towards the north-northeast. Straight line. This thing came along and watched, and I'm like, well, I wonder if that's like the space shuttle or the space station or, a satellite going over. So I'm watching this thing, and it gets right over, straight overhead. And as it's passing, I would guess about 15 degrees past my straight overhead, right? This white light appears, shoots this even brighter, but laser at the orange one. The white one disappears, and the orange one goes bloop. And the voice in my head says, see, we just blew another one out of the atmosphere. And I was like, whoa! And I didn't have my camera. I don't have proof, except you have my word. And my word means everything to me. I cannot lie. I will not lie. Nope, can't do it. My Christ being that I wish to be, to walk Christ-like through this world of being kind, considerate, compassionate, to love all, to forgive even the most heinous crimes. Doesn't mean folks should get off, but you need to forgive and not drag it forward. Oh, what a long journey it's been for me, my friends. But to the point, I can't lie. I just can't. Not now. And I can't stretch the truth. Not now. Because I have to tell it as I saw it, as I see it, or as it was told to me. Now, space wars are real. Take a digital camera. Most of them have the different settings with the twilight and all this stuff. Check it out. You'll find out that you're towards the blue side. Now, I was able to know about my camera settings and the blue light because of indoor settings. You might not have the same availability. Now, I will say this. Most of the new LED lights now are in the blue phase. So when you take a picture of just like normal, it's not going to give you true color. You got to go in and choose the white balance with something white against the LED lights. And I've noticed that the LEDs are they have them in the warmer, cozy, old type light bulbs, but most of them have got a blue shift to them, okay? Much like the sun, oddly enough. Now, they do make different types of LEDs with different kinds of light and different wavelengths, etc. I'm just talking about run-of-the-mill, LED. Now, also, and I also noticed it with the LED lights that I use for my headlamp too. When I was trying to take a picture of something, I had to move to the blue shift because the colors didn't come out right. Anyway, yes, the sun has changed. Yes, the moon is moving, or thus. I don't know if it's the earth that's moving, you know, wobbling down so the moon is higher in the sky and then wobbling back 2 weeks later. I'm not sold on that one yet. Now, I've only been observing this for the last year. Well, it is a year now. I have a lot more internal data of observations that I can use this year. And I'm trying to use a more scientific method to be able to like prove to you folks, hey, I'm not joking. But I challenge you to start observing. And you can pick 2 trees that line up, sort of, and see if the sun goes up and down one side of the tree or the next in 2 or 3 days' time. You would be surprised. I was. Where the sun is on my floor, where the sun comes through my windows, it changes. I try it. Set it up. Go outside, make yourself a simple sundial. Check it every day, as often as you can. You know, if you're a home worker or retired senior citizen like I am, then you have more time on your hands. Check it out. I'm telling you, I see it. I have noticed it. I have videotaped it. They were taken down, and I'm warning you. Can the sun and the moon and everything change like that? Keep your eye out. Now, the other thing, we are getting in some horrendously charged particles and stuff from the galaxy, okay? It is what it is. Now, there are those who are saying that we're going to get hit by a wave that is just going to absolutely rock this world up one side and down the other. Now, maybe in this description, I'm not sure. Not sure. Anyway, I have discussed Fatima over the years. And that Mother Mary came to me when I was 7 years old in the Catholic Church during my First Communion. She did come back and talk to me when I got my confirmation, also in the Catholic Church years later. And we have had subsequent many discussions when I was in high school and afterwards. And then I got into a drug phase and didn't pay attention anymore. Well, in my later life, I've paid attention a lot. And Mother Mary has come to me several times, whether you believe in the entity of Mother Mary or not. I never prayed to a statue. I knew that statue represented a being, not the statue. I never worshiped her. I always prayed to her. And I asked her, if you're a good Catholic and paid attention, you ask Mary to intercede for you on behalf to Jesus and to God. It's not that she has any more power, except she has a motherly instinct. And to those of us who were cheated out of a mother, me being adopted, there are things that just never quite gelled for me until much later on in life, like a few years ago, and my real mother passed away. What I learned about that and my experiences with Mother Mary, she told me in an absolute, not in my mind vision, but popped up in my house, okay? Surprised me. Along with a Dominican nun who was my teacher in high school. And they both came to me and said, you must tell this story. Now, I went to Tampa Catholic. I graduated in 1970. Not the highest in my crowd. I had a lot going on, some dyslexia and some head trauma issues that happened during football. but no one was aware of it at the time, especially me. So some of the crazy, nutty things I was doing, I really didn't have control of because it was like my brain was going off on its own. Now, I've had bunches of head injuries and I should be dead. I say the nasty spirits have tried to drown me twice. Damn near got me that first time. And I have literally walked with the spirit, unconscious, on a riverbank for 3 days. I went to go fishing for an evening and came back 4 days later. All I had on the river with me was a bottle of Gatorade, a bottle of Powerade, not the big ones, but, just the regulars, 1 liter, whatever. No water, because I wasn't going to be gone that long. I had 2 little Debbie cakes and my dog. Now, my dog could drink water and blah, 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 but the 2 of us lived off of that for 4 days on the river. There are 2 full days I absolutely are missing from my life entirely. It was 102 in the shade those days. It was like 80 degrees at night. It was horrible in 1 August several years ago. I came out a different person. The person, there are folks who talk about walk-ins. Okay, you died and for whatever reason, but the person you come back as, it's sort of the same, but not. There's a personality change. Now, nobody else has said this about me because nobody's been around. Nobody will talk to me because I'm too freaking crazy. Now, excuse me for my French. Now, with that though, I have observed my own self and said, Dave, you're not scared of things like you used to be. Well, one of the things I was scared of was dying. Well, they kind of took me on a tour and I ain't afraid of dying. Now, I'm not ready to go yet. Actually, I am, but I'm ready to go in the fact that if my job here on this earth, this plane, this 3D is over, my job's done. Beam me up, Scotty. I'm ready to go. But I'm not going to commit suicide. I spent 35 years of my life fighting the urge to kill myself. I've been on so many medications, most people's brains would be oozing out their ear. And some people today are on those nasty drugs, and it's making them crazy. I had to get off of all of it, and I can say that after, 3 years of being off of them, it might be 4 now. I'm a little foggy on the how many years it's been. I didn't write it down. I can look it up, but it happened in a January one year, 3 or 4 years ago, I'll say now. So I came off of them. I went flipping crazy for a couple of months. I mean, crazy in the sense that my thoughts would race over here, and then they'd race over there, and then they'd down, sideways. Whoa. I couldn't hold any thought still for very long. It was like a attention deficit times 1,000,000. It was horrible. And I have attention deficit. Now, it calmed down after I got all this stuff, number one, out of my body. But the other thing was that it had rewired my brain somehow. Not to the good. And so I had to, still working on it, by the way, I had to rewire. I had to rethink. I had to reinvent myself in a way because I had to learn speech pattern over. I was a public speaker. I was a puppeteer and a storyteller for 25 years. I've traveled all over the East, not all over, but I was in North Carolina once, South Carolina once, all over Georgia, several places in Florida. I've been as far north as Ohio. Tennessee was a favorite place for me to go for 15 years I would go there year after year for these different occasions and state parks and festivals and such. Then I became disabled and I can't drive to the store 5 miles away. Oh, well, I'm better though. I'm getting better every day because I had to rewire, rethink, reconnect neurons. Now, in that length of time since I stopped my mental health pills, I've not been able to do a puppet show, oddly enough. And I always could hear the puppets in my head as a nice little chitter chatter, talking back and forth amongst themselves. And I ain't heard them in a while. Now, recently, I broke into a little bit of one of my characters. And I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? Where it used to be that I could drop into any one. I got 150 puppets, y'all. And every one of them has a character. Every one of them's got a backstory. Most of them have their own voice. In other words, I changed my voice. Whatever. They each one had their own characteristic. And I could drop into any one of those characters in seconds or shorter. I can't hear the voices anymore. I don't hear their chatter. It was shut off. Whatever the last medication they gave me, and I told them, they were like, well, we're taking you off of this. You've been on it for a year. And I'm like, yeah, but it's working. They took me off of that one, put me on another one, which just, yank here, push here. So you're coming down off of one and going up on the other one. Boom. By the second month, I was a wreck. And I told them at Mental Health to kiss it. Ain't been back. And I tell people, don't go. Talk to me. Let's have group conversations. Call me on the phone. But don't let them folks put them pills in you. They are driving you mad. It did me. I haven't had a thought about suicide since I come off of those drugs. 35 years. I tried to hang myself in 1973. And I've been fighting it ever since. But since I came off those mental drugs, I don't want to kill myself anymore. It's gone. That urge that, oh, I'm worthless. I'm no good. I shouldn't be here. I should be dead. None. Gone. So the reason I went into that little thing is that the reason some of us are feeling so nutty and think we have to go to mental health are because of the changes happening in our solar system, in our galaxy. More our solar system, but it is happening to the galaxy. And it's happening because it's time. Mother Mary in Fatima was a warning 100 years ago that something was going to shake the earth, because that was one of that was part of the last revelation from Sister, what's her name, about Fatima, was that Mary told her, and this comes from Father, Malachi Martin, before he was shoved down the stairs in 1999. Live interviews on Coast to Coast. Some of them are still available if you check YouTube and around. Excuse me. That Malachi Martin was in the Vatican during the time that it was opened in 1962, 3, something. Anyway, maybe it was 64, early 60s, because there was a time frame, and it was this last secret was not supposed to be opened until that time. Well, when they opened it, the Pope looked at it and went, holy crap, I am not dealing with this. It was passed around the room, and Malachi Martin was there at the time. He was in the Vatican as one of the scholars looking into ancient texts and so forth. That's why he had all that inside information. But after it happened, he asked the Pope to be released from his duties, from any order of the priesthood. He was able to retain being a priest and could say Mass, but that was it. And the Pope said, bye, see you. I don't know if that's ever happened since, but it happened then. However, Malachi Martin, I think, had a secret deal with the Pope at that time. I can't remember his name. It was in the early 60s. Because after that, they had an ecumenical council, and everything changed after that. And part of that was because of what they read in the Third Secret of Fatima. Mother Mary told them that one thing was the bear of Russia. If it didn't come back to God, they were going to suffer horrendously. Now, in the last 10, 15 years, especially since Ronald Reagan and the wall came down in Russia and Gorbachev, blah, 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 Russia is more democratic than we are. Their politicians are taken out if they mess up. Not unlike us, we just elect them for another year. Putin has been very, very careful. He has also, get this, brought back the Orthodox Church. Rather than hide it, he's brought it back. He, Putin, has gone and visits Kirill, who is the Pope, basically, for the Orthodox Church. They're like buds. So Putin and Russia went back to God, the higher supreme. They went back to religion. They went back to core things, being good, Christ-like, blah, blah, blah. Okay? We, on the other hand, and the Vatican and the Catholic Church is not, oh boy, I'm not going to get started on that one. Don't trust the Vatican. Do not trust what fake Pope Francis says. Francis is not the Pope. He is the mayor of the Vatican. Benedict, if he's supposed to still be alive in a chamber underneath somewhere, pedophiling little children and eating them afterwards, seriously, that Benedict is still the Pope. And get this, the Catholic Church, the real Catholic Church, would never, ever have a Jesuit. The Catholic Church and Jesuits, they've been having it out. Many years ago, the Catholic Church went, get away, Jesuits. The Jesuits are like the CIA of the Nazis, man, and have worked with the Nazis. They have worked. The Jesuits even were part of, get this, the Civil War in the United States. President Lincoln, before he was killed, probably by the Jesuits, seriously, he wrote in one of his letters, I was astounded. He said, if it hadn't been for the Jesuits, there might not have been a civil war because they were instigating stuff, okay? This has been going on for so long. And I'm so sorry to say that the Catholic Church, quote, has been a part of this. Now, they've been sideswiped, okay, since 1964. And I had a nun, Sister Helene from Tampa Catholic, Dominican nun, tell me in 1970 and 71, don't become a priest, become a Buddhist monk if you want. Don't follow the church. And I asked her why back then. There's going to be a video specifically on this point. She said, there are things that you will learn about the Catholic Church that are false statements. Now, this is in 1971. I ain't got a clue, okay? However, the nuns are wearing the shorter things and blah, blah, blah. They don't have to do the, okay? She told me, she said, what happened with the Ecumenical Council? And I think it was 64. She said, David, there are things in the Catholic Church. There are secrets within the Catholic Church. And I don't think you, meaning me, want to be a part of that. Because I asked her, look, I'm getting messages from Mother Mary. She's telling me I need to blah. Maybe I should become a priest. And she was like, no, don't become a priest. A Dominican nun telling me, no, don't become a priest, be a Buddhist. What? Well, come to find out that Jesus studied with Buddha. He traveled the East. He learned things from, quote, the Buddha, which Buddha is not a person. It's anyone who reaches enlightenment. You could be a Buddha. I could be a Buddha. Any of us. Actually, we are Buddhists. We just haven't. We haven't turned off the real world in order to hear our Buddha nature, which in the Christian church would be the Christ-like. Walk with Jesus. Walk in a Christ-like way through your life. Meaning love, honesty, truth, compassion, love. Buddha, same thing, Buddha didn't say, oh, we got to go kill a bunch of folks because they don't believe what we believe. No. Now, there are Buddhists who have waged war, but the idea of Buddha, nope, no war. The idea of Jesus Christ. Did he say, oh, we're going to put on our shields and have crusades and take out the Muslims? No, Jesus wouldn't say that, So with all of this, the church has lied. The church has lied so badly. Catholics, other Christians, forget the Pope. Forget him. Nope. He is the Antichrist. Look it up, what anti means. He is supposed to be the God on earth, and he is the anti. He represents God here. Yeah. And Catholics are supposed to believe that the Pope is infallible. Well, then how come they've been changing so many rules? How come he said about a year and a half ago that Jesus was just a man? That's all. That Jesus was not special in any way, shape, or form. Now, he recently, I was astounded, I can't find the article, but he made a statement in one of his interludes that Lucifer was a fallen angel, but he was the angel of light. And we should forgive Lucifer for being fallen. I'm paraphrasing, but I was like, are you nuts? You're supposed to be the leader of the Catholic Church, and you're telling folks Jesus was just a man, but Lucifer was a cool angel. It was a shame he got, yes, I agree. It was a shame that Lucifer got trapped here on this earth and is considered a fallen angel. He couldn't get out of the trap. And in that respect, he was fallen from the grace of God. Now, I'm not saying that you all should change your beliefs and go worshiping Lucifer. What I am saying, though, is he didn't specifically decide to be fallen. He had an idea, and God gives us all a free choice. Every entity in the universe has a free choice. And there are lots. Lucifer and those who were hanging out with him, God said, hey, I don't know, you should go down there, especially playing around. So the angels took on human form, lost their wings. But when they thought they could be, oh, I'm done playing human, I'm going to put my wings back on, that made them fallen. And they've been stuck here. Now, with that, a lot of things have been attributed to Lucifer. They call him Satan. Lucifer and Satan ain't the same two people or entities. Sorry. Satan is a totally different entity. Don't confuse them. But I'm still saying don't go worshiping Lucifer all of a sudden. What I'm saying is you should forgive the fact that Lucifer was fallen. He was trapped, just like you and me get trapped in things. He got trapped here, and some of his followers. We should forgive Lucifer for being a fallen angel. Not forgive his deeds, but forgive him for being a fallen angel. I didn't say forgive Satan. Didn't say forget the devil, blah, blah, blah. Although, even they should be looked upon. In my understanding of forgiveness, I had to forgive 4 priests who pedophiled me. Two were at Tampa Catholic. One was at Most Holy Redeemer, and one was at, I think, Christ the King. Not sure about that, but 4 of them, okay? I won't name their names now, but I had to sit down with God and how can I forgive someone who is supposed to represent Jesus as a standard, as an example here on earth? To me, I thought a priest, not as a father, although we called him that he was supposed to walk with Christ, and that by following these priests and what they taught us, we would be walking in those footsteps of Jesus Christ. We would walk in love and kindness and in holiness, if you will. Back in 1970, 71, 72, there were so many priests that dropped out of the priesthood. I know of 5 priests who dropped out by 1972 because of the weirdness and the gayness that was gaining inside the church. There were priests that I know there were those of us at Most Holy Redeemer who complained about Father Eugene McCarthy, and that Father McCarthy, on more than one occasion, pinched my butt, felt me up at, during Mass. I remember one time I was doing a funeral, and there was an altar boy on either side of him, and we came out of the church, and they were putting the casket into the hearse. Family standing around, the pallbearers there. We're at the top step. I don't think the church is there anymore, but the top step of the church of Most Holy Redeemer. And Father McCarthy's in the middle, and I want to say that one of my friends, David Frederick, was on the left-hand side, and I was on the right. And I'm getting this goose. Father McCarthy is standing there feeling my butt while there are people standing around, and they're loading the casket into the hearse. And I was like, and Fredericks, he was like, "You faggot priest, get your hands off my ass." Now, I didn't go there, but he said it out loud to him, and all the people were like, "What?" Now, you're supposed to get a tip back then anyway. We didn't get a tip because Father McCarthy was feeling our ass, and David Frederick spoke up about it. This should have been about 1968, 69. No. I'm sorry. No. 1965 or 1966. Because then I went to Tampa Catholic, right, and I didn't do the Masses as much. Oh, right. So, yeah, because we got out of class to do that. It was in the 8th grade. Okay, yeah, 8th grade. Most Holy Redeemer. Father Eugene McCarthy, feeling up the altar boys on the top step outside the church during a funeral. Father McCarthy chased me around more than once. And the last time I almost decked him. But I said, "Father, I have respect for you and your order." And, oh, yeah. Oh, ugly man. And his breath. I'll never forget that. After that, I tried to hang myself. Y'all. Because priests were chasing me around. I couldn't get a straight answer. Here I am. And then Sister Helene, God bless her, she said, "Don't be a priest, please." be a Buddhist. Now, church is lying, NASA's lying, the government's lying. I'm trying to tell you, pay attention to the sun. Changes are coming. Are there energy waves coming out of the middle of the galaxy? You betcha. What is up with the Earth changes? It's kind of simple in a way. There is not a molten core. Forget it. But there is an internal sun, because the inside of the Earth, as most planets are, and moons and such, they're hollow, okay? If you take a molten mass and spin it real fast in the centrifuge, all the stuff's going to go to the outside. What's going to happen to the middle? Hollow. Admiral Byrd said that the Earth was hollow. They all claimed he was a nut. What's up with Antarctica? They say there are beings under the ice. Admiral Byrd went to the North Pole. There's a hole up there, y'all. I went in, they talked to me, sent me back out. Cool. The Agarthans. Now, there are different stories about beings living in the earth, trolls, leprechauns, fairies, the little people, and of all different sorts from all over. And that place in Ohio has an opening and a portal to a slightly different dimension, but still on the earth. It's like they can see us, but we can't see them. Their phase shift just enough that you can see them out of the corner of your eye sometimes, blah, blah, blah. But I was allowed to take pictures of these orbs, which represented their spirits. Anyway, now, the sun is heating up the earth from the inside. The vibrations from the cosmos, from the galaxy, are vibrating that internal sun like a microwave, okay? Just, I don't know, put an object in the microwave and turn it on for 30 seconds. Put a golf ball in there. Don't, but So, it's heating up the core, and it's vibrating everything on the earth. The earth is actually warmer. The Pacific Ocean is warmer, but it's coming from underneath. Look at all the volcanoes going off, for goodness sakes. Why is everything shooting lava everywhere? Because the inside of the earth is being heated up, not the outside, the inside of the earth. It really makes sense if you stop and think. Don't go, oh, Dave, you're full of. Well, I had a good dump before I started this, so I'm not full of it. I'm sorry. I digress. Thank you, Richie from Boston. The sun is hollow. It is. You can see, if you look closely on the images where the coronal holes are, you can actually, if you zoom in, you can see the inside of the other side of the globe. There was a carnival ride years ago. I grew up on Carnival, and it was like it was a sphere, all right? It was round, circular, and it was like some kind of space ride. I think it was like two of them, one on either arm, and the thing spun like crazy, and it went around too, made me sicker than a dog. But the inside of it was lit up with things and blah, blah, blahs, and as close as I can get, it kind of reminded me of that, meaning that the inside of this carnival ride sphere, it was like looking in through the sun to the other side. Inside of the sun was like looking at the inside of this carnival ride sphere. Anyway, the way they had the lights. So it reminds me of that. Also, there's been too many pictures of stuff siphoning off energy from the sun. Several pictures of huge objects coming out of the sun during a coronal hole burst. Sometimes those flares are actually giant planet-sized spaceship coming out of the sun, because the sun is a portal to another sun. And I'm not sure, but you go in, you dial it up, and you come out of another sun in another solar system. That'd be cool. Now, there are things in science I'm just going to touch on. All right. The idea that the speed of light is as fast as you can go, I realized the last 2 months I've read, listened, and have done more research in, the speed of light is not constant. That's been a huge lie. The speed of light is an average. Also, in this quantum mechanics and everything, come to find out that like 30, 40 years ago, they did some of these tests. In fact, they actually did the test back when Einstein was around. So rather than discuss what they talked about back then, they said, oh, E equals mc squared, and that's the final straw. Well, m is mass, E is energy, and the c squared is the constant, which is the speed of light. And if it's not constant, then how in the dickens can you say that the equation is right? It's not. It's false. So everything that they have been formulating, the physics and physical reality, is based on a false, false notion that the C is constant squared. What's faster than light is thought. What's faster than light, is the graviton energy particle. A graviton is 10 times 100 to the 100th power. It's like the zeros are like a gazillion. A graviton, not gravitron, that was the carnival ride. A graviton, which has been around, I was amazed, for a while now. And they first measured it at like 10 to the 10th power times 10 or something, which is pretty daggum fast. But then scientists started recalculating, better devices, and a graviton is so fast, the zeros behind it are astounding. Speed of light, it will be there and back before the light ever gets going good. That's how unbelievable. Have we been lied to about this? Yeah, science. Did they tell us about this or that? No. They tell us that that we have a molten core. No, we're hollow on the insert, and there are people that live in there. There are beings who live in there, and Admiral Byrd was right when he flew to the North Pole and said, there's a hole in the earth, there's a hollow earth, blah, blah, blah. Admiral Byrd was a sane man. He was a great pioneer and a hero for the United States and for the world, actually. And he was allowed to come back and talk about inner earth. Did anybody believe him? Nah. Swept it under the rug, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? As the earth is vibrating, there are beings coming out of inner earth that we're going to be meeting. Some folks already met them. I've seen some of these. They're demon looking, but ugly doesn't necessarily mean bad. However, these things were bad. I mean, just, oh my God. So things are coming in to the earth and from the earth. They're trying to escape this higher vibration because these critters can't stand it. Okay? It's like taking a lizard and putting him in the freezer. Or a fish out of water. They can't stand it. No oxygen in the water, fish float to the top. Well, these beings, because the earth is being vibrated such, they're being flushed to the top, so to speak. Now, all this is a good thing. Does it mean that we're just like home free and nothing's going to happen? No. You and me and the rest of us, we've got to pay attention. And we got to believe this, okay? Now, is everything I'm telling you 100%? There's going to be a variation on it, okay? There's a slight twist over here to person A, who I got information from. There's a slight twist to what person B says, but the core thing of what they're saying is the same. And then today, I got out of left field info from Abel Danger. I can mention him. And he made a comment that was similar to what Drake Bailey made 2 weeks ago. And I think he made it again this last week. And Abel Danger was like, I don't think he listens to, sci-fi planet stuff, beings from other galaxies. I don't know if this guy goes there. You know what I'm saying? He was a pilot. He was an airline pilot. He was a fighter pilot. A few years older than I am, me being 65. Excuse me, I got a cramp in my butt. My pillow moved. But Abel Danger said something. He said, he was referring to some of the things that his sister is involved with, being in the dark side of our government and doing nasty things that she shouldn't be, and that he has verified him, and he's got a partner, a collaborator in the UK, and they have been collaborating on things for like 5 or 6 years. And but Abel came up with this offhanded statement. He goes, well, he says, from what I understand, there's going to be some big changes, and Halloween might be just the perfect cover for what they have to do. And the guy in the UK was like, what's that? Blah, blah, blah. And oh, never mind. Just some hearsay. And he grinned at the camera, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Now, what's he talking about? Now, part of this is that the reset of our economy and the dollar, the Federal Reserve note is just that, a piece of paper. It's a note. And they don't really have any value. They have said it has value. In actuality, it doesn't. I've got a couple of old silver certificates. They're worth money because you can trade them in for silver. That was the idea. They were backed by silver. But then Tricky Dicky, in 1971, China visit, blah, blah, blah. He changed everything to the petrodollar. And the silver certificates were no longer there. And the Federal Reserve note was the only one that was there. So they're kicking out the Federal Reserve note, the central banking system, the IMF, International Monetary Foundation, blah, blah, blah. These people are crooks. They have been stealing money from us for so long. Now, you've heard about Brexit. It's Brazil. Oh, Brazil, Russia, China's in there. But anyway, so these countries got together a couple of years ago and they said, look, we don't trust the dollar. It's going down. Obama's and we see the writing on the wall because they saw what happened in 2008, 2009 with the bank crunch, right? A bunch of us lost a crap load of money. All of our savings, retirements, my Social Security got almost cut in half. Unbelievable what they did to us. They stole from us big time. China, Russia, Brazil, other countries got together and said, oh, we got to do something else here. Now, the Chinese yuan, I think it's yuan, is now been on the market as for after the first of the year. It has been put on the stock exchange as a legitimate gold-backed monetary source. Same thing with Russia. Oh, so what's the big kick about China and Russia and all this walkie-walkie stuff? It's because they want to introduce gold-backed, silver-backed, or other valuable, not oil, valuable commodity like platinum or uranium or blah, blah, that your money is based on the value of that, not on oil. Okay. Not any longer. So all of these countries have been going around us going, bye-bye, we're not using your dollar anymore. And it has no value. Especially since oil, right? So the Chinese elders have put it out there. We got money set aside to give basically some seed money, loan, whatever, to get the United States onto a currency of our own, but backed by something other than oil. Maybe it's gold, maybe it's silver, maybe it's whatever. It's supposed to be gold backed. Now, when Abel Danger made that statement yesterday, and like I said, it was just an off-the-cuff little statement, but it was almost exactly what I heard from Drake, and I heard from two other different website folks, people, stuff, discuss about the fact that, well, by the end of October, they were hoping by the 22nd. That's passed. And then things got rerouted. But what they're having to put up with are all these other players. You know, everything's set. There's even, I've heard from many different sources that there's already the federal, it's not a reserve note, federal, it's going to be an American dollar, not a Federal Reserve note. It will say dollar, not note, okay? There will be value behind it. In fact, there was even a discussion at one time, you know, several years ago, they put these little strips in the dollars. Well, they're supposed to, think on this, put a small strip of gold in that identifier. And a little tiny strand, but in that dollar bill will be the value of that dollar. So you could rip it apart and get that little tiny string of gold out if you wanted to. The point is it would have a value in and of itself, not a Federal Reserve note that has no backing of anything. It's just paper. Now, with that said, Halloween might just be different. Don't know. It's been promised for several months now, and I got to agree that weird stuff has happened to keep this from coming out, because those folks who don't want to give up are like Las Vegas. There was supposed to be something happening on the 1st. Well, I don't think the good guys knew that they were going to do Vegas the way it happened. And other things, okay? So stuff has hit the fan that has slowed down, not necessarily stopped the reset, but it hasn't happened yet. However, the elders have said, you guys, I don't care if we have to come in with machine guns. We're going to take you out if you don't give up. Stop it. Quit it. It's over. It's done. The American people don't want it anymore. We don't want it anymore. The rest of the world doesn't want your mess anymore. Give it up. Stop it. Cease and desist, or they're going to send in the ninjas, okay? Reports are that Soros died 2 days ago in Dubai in a hotel room. Everybody's been wishing for Soros to be dead. Well, a year ago, there was an underground kind of wobbly going on that Soros was already dead. And that the only thing that was going on was the fact that his children, things were already set in motion. And they're just kind of following the plan. The money was already there because he was a gazillionaire, right? So the money that he spent, the things that he had, much of this was already in place, along with his siblings, rest of the family, whoever else is involved. And they're the ones carrying it out, not George himself. Soros is dead. Another thing, on 9/11 last year, when Hillary Clinton had that little freaky spell and they had to like throw her into that van, the Hillary that came out a couple of hours later from Chelsea's apartment ain't the same person. All right? Not the same person. Also, So they said that Hillary passed away in September of last year, and that she's been used. A body double has been being used, not a clone, a body double. It's like a third cousin or something. Anyway, now after here recently, when Hillary came out with her book, and there are pictures of her, and she's on this and she's on that and everything. If you will look and compare the pictures of recent Hillary to, well, you have to go back past September of last year. This Hillary that's walking around now promoting this book and yapping her yap, that ain't Hillary. Sorry, folks. Her jawline's different. Her cheeks are different. Oh, she could have gained weight, lost weight, but that don't change your bones. It doesn't change your facial expression. The way her ears on. I haven't taken 2 photos and looked at it, but when I saw the recent pictures of Hillary, I went, "Ah, that's not her. Who's that? That's not the Hillary that ran for president." I don't know who the person is. Don't care, but I know it ain't the original Hillary. They are trying to snowball us past forever. Now, we gotta stay on this. I suggest you check out Lionel Nation. All right, Lionel. He's in New York City. He's an old Tampa boy that ended up moving up north. Cheater. But I moved out of Tampa too, so whatever. But he's a trial lawyer. He has worked in the. I would say that New York City is probably one of the toughest in the world as far as, you know, criminals and the court system and pay and blah. So Lionel's been there forever. He's also been doing stuff on RT, Alex Jones, but he has a podcast almost every single day, and he runs the Conspiratorium. And I suggest check out Lionel, because Lionel gives you a straight point of view. Conspiracy, we can talk about it, but let's look at the facts. And he has taught me more in the last 6 months simply by saying, well, wait a minute, I shouldn't go off on this tangent because you all haven't answered this question first. It's like, for example, the Las Vegas shooting. There ain't no way one person did it. Sorry. There wasn't enough bullet shells. There weren't this Paddock, this guy here, the guy that 200 rounds down a hall and he got shot in the leg and all this other kind of stuff. No. Sorry. No. People in the Marines who were sergeants who taught how to shoot a weapon are saying, sorry, it can't happen that way. The way they broke out the windows, those are supposed to be absolute safety glass. He had a hammer in the room and busted it out. Don't think so. Not those kind of windows. They are safety glass on top of safety glass, and you can beat on them. And what's supposed to happen, there's supposed to be a layer of plastic between 2 layers of glass. So if you break one section, the other will shatter, but none of it will fall out. Much like a car window now. Safety glass. They use them in all of those places because people in Las Vegas want to kill themselves and jump out windows. All the hotels have changed their windows. They're not like regular windows in other similar places. So he broke it out with a hammer, 2 windows, not just one, and he was firing from here and there. The 200 rounds shot down the hall when the cops on the voice recorder of that event that night had 2 cops in the hall 5 minutes after that, maybe 10, less than 10 minutes in. They never spoke about bullets coming down the hall. They never talked about somebody being wounded. They never said anything. They said they were down the hall and they could hear shooting coming from the room. It's on the audio, okay? Now, they stick in this guy, Jesus, who did not want to be on Ellen. That was kind of obvious, wasn't it? And the only interview he was going to give? What's up with that? Oh, he's too traumatized. No, he's a liar, and they don't want to. He does not want to get in front of the camera more than once. That makes more sense. He's lying, and you could tell by his body position. Anyway, the point of that is all of it was made up. Now, there are claims that people actually did die, but there are other claims about where's their death certificate. No one had them admitted into any of the 4 hospitals. Where did they go to be treated? What about the morgue? Did the morgue where did the bodies go to the morgue? 50 people died. Where are the death certificates? Where are, I'm sorry to say, but where are the bodies? How big is that mortuary in the coroner's office in Las Vegas? Bodies weren't stacked up outside. They didn't have them in refrigerator boxes before each one was, autopsied or went through the process or whatever. No. 540 some odd people were injured. Not one of them died from a result from any of those wounds, which they should have legitimately. There should have been at least 1% of those 540 die. That's just the odds of all those bullet shells. There were no bullet holes in the bleachers. There were no divot marks from the sound of that gun. There should have been lots of divot holes in the pavement. Whoa, but they had a carpet that they rolled up. Okay, but they should have. Bullets go through carpets. Nothing on the tarmac. Nothing on the pavement. Nothing in the parking lot. There should be holes all over the place. There should be holes in buildings. There should be holes in the awnings of those places where people were hiding. No bullet holes. I'm not saying nobody died. Don't misunderstand me. And for shame if somebody did, God, to their family and everything. But of those 540 people, not one person has been followed up on. Oh, well, you made it back to California and you made it through, and oh, how's your wound? Are you getting by? Did you have to take off from work? How's your family? Are you recovering? 540 people, not one person has spoke up from after the fact. Not one death certificate of the 50 people. Not anything follow up. Nothing makes sense. Not saying nobody died. I'm saying it doesn't add up. We as people need to stay on these idiots. JFK assassination, I've been waiting 54 years to see it. We all knew it was a lie back when the Warren Commission presented it. I want to see the papers, though. I want to see some of the crap and little tiddly stuff. Oh, by the way, 40 reporters in the newspapers and on TV and so forth were paid by the FBI and the CIA. What? We didn't know that back then. Who was on it? Well, the BBC, the ABC, NBC, CBS, the 4 majors they had reporters being paid by the FBI to lie. We knew it back then, at least our little group. And no way, Lee Harvey Oswald put off 3 shots. A friend of mine had a British 303, and it was a bolt action, and you had to do the whole thing to shoot it. We went down to the train tracks and shot off boxes of shells trying to reproduce how fast could he shoot. And we just had a circle on a railroad tie from a train trestle. We couldn't do it. And some of us were pretty dadgum good with that rifle and shooting. But to cock it, do this, and then aim it. And they were trying to tell us that he did that all by his lonesome. Other thing, why did they slow the car down? Nobody asked that question. Why did they slow down? Why did the driver of the limousine slow down? Why did they change the path of where the car was supposed to go when it was very obvious that when they tried to make this one turn to go into Dealey Plaza, the driver of the limousine, which was a stretch limo with 3 seats, not 2, because Governor Connolly was sitting in front of JFK. They had to back the limo up to make the turn into Dealey Plaza. Now, do you think that in their right mind, if the FBI and the CIA were working for JFK, would they have picked a spot where they couldn't get the limo around the corner? No, they changed it. They altered it. LBJ, I'm sorry, but he was a SOB. And he went to hell, I believe, for it because of all the things that he done, all the lives that he killed in Vietnam, all this dirty, rotten, stinking stuff he did. He probably had RFK killed as well because he didn't want RFK, Robert Kennedy, to be the next in line because he hated Robert Kennedy, even though Johnson said, I'm not going to run again. He hated Robert Kennedy because Robert Kennedy, when he was appointed by his brother Jack back in the early 60s, Robert Kennedy went after the mafia. Guess what? The Southern Mafia, which was different from the mafioso mafia, the Southern Mafia, which is still alive and well, I might add, in 2017, here in South Georgia anyway, Johnson was part of the Southern Mafia, and RFK was nailing mafia folks, and he was hot on the trail of Johnson and Johnson's cohorts. So Johnson hated RFK right out of the gate, and because he was Jack's brother, well, that made it worse. Did he help RFK get killed? I think so. It was too obvious. It was too obvious. They had a Manchurian candidate. You know, did he get rid of MLK? Yeah, because him and MLK didn't get along. Now, did Johnson he helped with the change as far as, you know, blacks being lesser and going to school. And, you know, I remember the Alabama and George Wallace standing up there with a gun. I'll shoot a nigger who tries to come into this school. I mean, it was real back then, folks. It ain't like it is now. It was real. However, things are starting to get real now because of all of this extra vibration. People are feeling tense and jittery. And I was in a chat room earlier this evening. Folks were asking each other, have you been feeling really anxious lately for no particular reason? Folks are raising their hand going, oh, have you had neck and head pains from the back of your head? No, me, I had 3 days of migraine. I had a migraine in over a year and a half. But last week I was like, couldn't move. My head was throwing up. Oh, it was horrible. Where'd it come from? Energy from outer space. I know it sounds weird, but it is. It's cosmic energy. It's vibrations. The earth is changing its core. We are all being upgraded. All these vibrations are changing our DNA. They're changing how we think, how we feel. And we were warned a year ago that these waves of energy were going to be rough on us. Well, they've been whipping my butt, okay? I know some other folks who got their butts whipped too. And it seems to be us baby boomers, kind of older crowd between 50 and above, I guess. However, I've heard of folks in their 35, 40s who have been drastically nailed by these energy waves and the anxiety and everything. And maybe it's just because I'm 65 and I've had years of dealing with anxiety. And when I feel anxious now, I look around and go, okay, what's doing it? Well, since it's not in my immediate surroundings or environment, and it's not about this and it ain't about that, I'm not worried about blah, 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 da, 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 da. So when you start going down the checklist of things I don't believe I'm consciously aware of being worried about, and so therefore I should be so anxious as to have my insides going blue, you know, as was described by several people in another chat this evening. And actually last night in the chat, there was similar conversations about their energy feelings and how they're feeling jittery and so forth. So folks all around are feeling what's going on. Nobody's explaining what it is. Unless you listen to crazy crackpots like me who get censored a lot anyway, it's not going around. So I've been going into the chats going, yeah, how about this? What about 2 weeks ago? Blah, 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 blah. Come to find out, in all the chats that I've been visiting, there is a lot more than half of the people, not in the chat, but who responded, more than half all said, yeah, me too. you know, and the other ones were going sort of. So all the people who responded so far in the last many weeks of me visiting chats, I guess in a way, I've been a nice troll. I've just been checking out, saying good things, be positive, love your neighbor, be kind, feed folks if they're hungry, you know. So is it real? Check around. Go in some of these chat rooms. Just watch. Don't take my word for it, because I had to see whether or not my symptoms. That's why I started checking out. Hey, how y'all been feeling? I don't say I felt bad. I have asked first, have any of you felt different lately? And if so, how? Not saying that you should, but if you have. So these people tell me, oh man, my neck and my upper shoulders, oh my God. Me too. Me 3, me 4, me. Okay, 20 people that are chatting actively, all are saying the same thing. And you can probably assume that there are other people who are not chatting, who are just quietly watching or going, oh, well, maybe that's where it's coming from. A lot of people. If you're one of them, if you're watching this, I say, calm down, best you can. Some of this anxiety might be coming from a source you're not particularly aware of. So before you go jumping off a deep end and saying, I got to take 2 Valium, look at yourself, look at your situation, look around your immediate area and go, wait a minute, oh, hang on. Think about it first before you take that Valium or whatever. I have a friend of mine, oh my God, I'm so, boom, she's popped 2 Valium in 10 minutes. And off to La La Land she goes, oh, I'm so happy now. She's not dealing with what's going on, and she's staying medicated way past where she is. And the Valium has made her nuts, so to the point where she's believing. She has made up stories about things that I've said to her. Ain't no way I've said those things. But to the point, she won't even speak to me any longer because she made up a story that she thinks I said. And now, because I wouldn't apologize for something I didn't do, she won't speak to me. We've been friends for 30 years. Go figure. Anyway, it's driving some people nuts. And before they'll stop and look at their surroundings, they pop a pill first or blame it. Well, you're the one that's a reason for my anxiety. And it turns into anger. We need to swap that. We need to change that. We need to look at our surroundings and say, man, I feel really anxious today. I wonder what's going on. Well, let me check the sun and see if there's been a CME. Let me check the sun and see if there's a coronal hole facing, because the energy from the sun is vibrating the earth, it's vibrating us. Everything is it's going to be on a different frequency. We've been warned, we've been told. In so many different ways we've been warned and we've been told. Now, to that point, some of the warnings, though, have been like, oh, bottom line in the back section of the 3rd section of the newspaper. Little tiny article, NASA finds blah, blah, blah. Oh, they told us, but they didn't go and tell us out loud. Now, they'll talk about these stupid comets and these stupid tails and their debris tails when they know damn well it's a lie. And they keep on with the lie. They won't stop it. They can't. If they stop with the lie, what do they got? Then they have to tell the dadgum truth. They don't want to do that. I mean, we left why are we still using rockets? I remember in 1974-ish, they were talking about, when they were designing the space shuttle, mind you, that they were had a mountain out west, probably S4 or something out there. They had a mountain that they were going to put it up, I don't know, about a 30-degree angle, okay, not too steep. And they were going to use old-style steam jet-powered rockets mounted on a sled, and they were going to sling, much like they do airplanes off of aircraft carriers. Okay, this is not new, but instead of trying to shoot a rocket straight up, they were going to shoot it at a 30-degree angle, and they were going to launch it with like a mile-long track till it could get up to a velocity and then the engines were going to start up, and there was going to be enough wing on them to where they could stabilize until they got into orbit. That makes so much more sense. A lot less power. Anybody who does any kind of physics calculations can sit down and go, whoa, straight up is a whole lot worse than going sideways, especially with when you've got the Earth and you're using the power of something on the Earth and a trajectory. You're going to get into orbit with a lot less fuel, blah, 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 blah. Have they done it? No. We're still going straight up. 2017, we're still going straight up. 35, 40 years later, we're still going straight up. Oh, look at the new rocket we tested. Oh, give me a break. Please stop lying to us. Tell us about the real space program. Tell us about the TR-3Bs and TR-3Bs and TR-3Bs and the TR-36 and all these other. Oh, come on, get off with it. We know now, because the secret's out, quantum energy, gravitons are faster than the speed of light, and we can manipulate gravity. They just don't want us to know. So the fake alien invasion is coming next. Why did Trump bring all of the Navy back into the shipyards a few months back? Because they're all being retrofitted with lasers. Why? Because there are entities under the ocean, mostly under the ocean, that are trying to get off planet. And these are the nasty, nasty, nasty ones. Some folks call them Dracos. Lizard folks, there's lots of different kinds of reptilians. However, the Dracos are supposed to be, there is a faction of Dracos who are rotten to the core, who love to eat people, babies especially, and who are just, now, being a lizard, that's what you do, okay? I'm not offended by the fact that they eat people because they're lizard people, okay? I get it. I used to eat rabbit. I used to eat quail. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, my choice to not eat them, all right? However, if you're a lizard person and for the last 10,000 years, that's what you've done is eat things, it's just another meal to you. Now, to us, it's atrocious. It's nasty, blah, blah, blah. We don't like it. Those critters are trying to get off the earth. Now, I can't remember the name of the observatory, but there is an observatory on one of the mountains in Hawaii, okay? And you can go to the webcam thing there and watch it at night because you can't necessarily see them too good in the daytime. If you could see, just go to that site. They've got several cameras on different locations. There are several different observatories on that mountain. I can't think of it right now. But that if you go to the live feed, there's one pointing this way, one pointing this way. There's one that's pointed towards sort of the airport. I guess it would be Honolulu. And if you watch it, you will see an airplane come in, and it's about this fast, and they land. Well, then you see other things flying across the sky. They go, whoosh, whoosh, flash, bing, bop. I mean, they are all over the place. Now, the folks on Hawaii have been talking about the underwater UFOs, and that, they come out of the water and blah, 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 and then disappear here, there, blah, blah. And some of them have gone into the volcano, for goodness sakes. Most of them come out of the water. Now, I'm telling you, I went there one night and watched it. In an hour's time, I counted myself 30 different objects. Boom, boom. They're not airplanes. They're not bugs. They're extra other types of vehicles. There is evidence all around us. The pictures coming out of Mexico of these huge craft. What about the Phoenix Lights? Well, that could have been our vehicle that we were showing off to the rest of them like, ooh. Nonetheless, it was there. Lots of people saw it. Folks took pictures best they could. Is any of this real? You damn right. And they need to quit lying to us. So every one of us, we're not conspiracy nuts. They are. They've lied to us, lied to us, lied to us. Eisenhower warned us about the military industrial complex, that they had too much power. And then John Kennedy took over and he tried to follow in Ike's wake. John Kennedy was a captain in the Navy. He had worked in secret information. And he knew Ike as a partner, as a fellow service person. JFK wanted to follow in Eisenhower's footsteps and get rid of the CIA and get rid of the military industrial complex. JFK got murdered. Johnson took over, and guess what? Vietnam, all the more tanks, all the more weapons, and it ain't been nothing but shit since. Jimmy Carter tried to slow it down. He did his best. That was the only time we didn't have any type of conflict, was during the Jimmy Carter years. Believe it or not. Oh, everybody says Jimmy Carter was the worst president ever. We weren't at war. Lots of lives did not get killed under Jimmy Carter. Why? Jimmy Carter was in the Navy, like JFK. Jimmy Carter was the captain of a nuclear submarine. Now, could George Bush Jr. say that? He couldn't even put two sentences together. He was our president for 8 years. Gave us 9/11 and the Iraq War and the millions of people dead, wounded, maimed, and Jimmy Carter was our worst president. Think about that one. The picture the other day with Lady Gaga and the 5 presidents. Jimmy Carter was off on the side and Obama was leaning away from him. What does that tell you? Clinton, Bush Jr., old man Bush, and Obama all doing this number. And Lady Gaga right in the middle of those 4. Jimmy Carter has never been in the middle of the presidents. He's always on one side or the other. They never include him because they think he was a dutz and a poof. They think Jimmy Carter was a poof because he wanted solar energy in 1976. Oh my God. Reagan took him off the White House. That's senseless. We got plenty of oil. We don't need it. Why did we need to, get off of petro? Jimmy Carter was ahead of his time. Way ahead. He was not our worst president. You get the idea. But Jimmy Carter stood up for Trump just last week. He stood up for Trump. He said, oh, wait, hold it. Trump's had more crap than any other president. And y'all should lay off. Whether he's right or wrong is not the point. You all need to lay off the man. He's the president. Leave him alone. Let him do his job. Maybe he can get something done if y'all quit bothering him. Now, from where I live, Jimmy Carter's only like 50 miles up the road from me in this area of Southwest Georgia. Now, there are a lot of things that I liked about Jimmy Carter and a lot of philosophies. He went around building homes for people who couldn't afford a good home. People were living in dilapidated situations. He went around the world building homes, Habitat for Humanity, but he was a bad man. You haven't heard anyone talk about how Jimmy Carter stole money from a fund that was supposed to go to Haiti or to the people in Puerto Rico or anything like that. He's donated money. The money he has raised, he's given back. I praise the man for that. But he was the worst president. Really? Who said that? Oh, George Bush. Well, he would, wouldn't he? Obama said it. Oh, yeah, Carter was a lousy president. What did Obama give us? I've lost my job. I've lost Social Security. I lost my pension fund. I've lost everything. Damn near lost my house. Damn near lost my life during the last years of Bush and all the years of Obama. Now, what am I supposed to think from where I sit? Who's right? Who's wrong? Who should I listen to? Should I listen to mainstream when they refuse to discuss anything about Hillary? Anything? the fraud of the Clinton Foundation, not a word about Chelsea handling large sums of money in almost billions of dollars. She was supposed to go down to the islands, and a ship was a couple of months ago. A ship came into harbor loaded full of cocaine. Guess who it belonged to? The Clinton Foundation. Was anybody busted for those tons of cocaine? No. Was Chelsea Clinton, who was supposed to have been overseeing those things, did she get arrested? Did anybody bring charges against her for trying to bring in tons of cocaine hidden in a boat, registered to them? No, not a word. But Trump colluded with the Russians in P-gate. You see, that is just absolutely how ridiculous the entire situation has got. P-gate for Trump. He peed on a bed in Russia with 2 hookers. Are you serious? That's the best they could do. And they want to impeach him on that. Throw him out of office because he's not mentally stable. And a bummer was George Bush Jr. was stable. Are you serious? Clinton, did you see some? He would sit in a stupor until they said, okay, Bill, you're on. And then he'd go, huh? Bill admitted taking drugs and speaking with the devil on the other side. Him and Hillary both back early on. They've been conversing with beings from another reality. Oh, that should freak you out right there. Who are they listening to and what are they telling them? My spirits say, love my neighbor and help the next guy out. If somebody's homeless, I got a camper you can stay in till you get back on your feet. I mean, I got little bit of resources, but I'm willing to share. These people with millions of dollars just want more. And they don't care if people die. They don't. They don't care. That's me and you. These folks don't care if we live or die. Why do you think there are chemtrails? Why do you think there's barium and strontium and aluminum in it? I get sick, and all I did was walk out and water my garden, you know, and I come back in with nasty crap, and I got yellow stuff, boogers coming out. I don't go anywhere to get sick. I stay home most of my time. I go to town 3, maybe 4 times a month, okay? And that's just get groceries, go home. So my chances of being around a lot of people and picking up a virus and coming home and having the flu and the snot and all that, I know it's gross. But point is, I don't get sick any longer, except when the heavy chemtrails are spraying. Then the next 2 days, I got congestion, I got yellow snot, all the thing. I had pleurisy years ago. There is a sac around the heart that protects it, and it's an extra membrane, and you can get an infection between the heart and the membrane, and it hurts like hell. You can't breathe, you can't take a deep breath. Oh man. And the only way to cure it really is with antibiotics. I keep them on hand all the time, right? I haven't used any antibiotics in a year. In fact, the pills are probably close to being have to throw it away. But to the point, I had to take antibiotics last week because I could not get rid of the pleurisy on my own. And I haven't had it in almost 2 years. I mean, long time, no problem, nothing. I don't use my inhaler anymore, nothing like that. I got myself well on my own, except when there's heavy spraying and you get it in your lungs and it creates whatever mucus crap it does. And for 3 days, well, if you've had pleurisy and your heart hurts, it doesn't go away until you get the infection out of the pleural sac. Anyway, the sac. Never mind. Sac around the heart. So anyway, for 4 days I took the antibiotics. I still got a touch of it, but I've only been off of the antibiotics for a day. I try not to take too many. I try to take enough until the symptoms go away, rather than, we'll take the whole bottle. No, because that kills everything else in you too. So, but to my point, there's some yellow stuff right there. To the point, there are folks out there who are doing harm to you, me, the planet. They don't care. They don't care. I mean, I saw the airplanes flying late this afternoon. I had a perfect blue, sapphire blue sky all day long till 4:30, 5 o'clock. Next thing you know, the entire sky over South Georgia was crisscrossed with chemtrails. Within 30 minutes, sky. Now, good thing the wind was blowing a lot, because they must have been doing a lot of spraying west, because it was moving east, and the whole pattern's in the sky. And as the chemtrails moved across the sky, they opened up and got wider and wider and wider. And one chemtrail was like this wide in the sky on the west, and by the time it got past me on the east, it was like this wide in the sky and expanding. Unbelievable. And I had to get out, because I know I've done some research on how long it takes particles to fall out of the sky and hit the ground. And some of them come pretty quick, and others take a while. Now, what I found out was, and here's another little trick, and I'm going to shut this off because pretty much reached the end of where I was headed with this, in that particles, some folks have said, oh, it's a small particle, it'll take forever for it to drop. No. It doesn't matter on the size of the particle. It matters about the density of the particle. So if you had one, let's just picture, okay, this is a grain of sand. All right, this is sand, this is silica, this is lead. They're all the same size. Okay. Which is going to fall faster? Which is more dense? The lead, obviously, right? Okay. So if you have something that looks like a feather, now we're talking nanoparticle here, very small, but it doesn't matter how small the object is if its density is really thick, okay, like lead. And I'm not saying they're dropping lead, but they're dropping aluminum and strontium and barium. Aluminum, if they were flakes, at me being a machinist, you know, and you've worked on the lathes, you can throw chips off different sizes, and some are, you can get really thin and they will literally kind of float. They're flimsy and like a feather. They're light. However, if you take out little chunks and they go flying off at you that are hotter than hell and got grease all over them, you end up with something that is very dense and is going to fall much faster than its counterpart of a light little flimsy piece of aluminum. They're both aluminum. One's like this and the other one's like. Now, what's going to happen? That dense particle is going to drop like a ton of bricks straight down. It's not going to take 12 hours to hit the ground. It might not take an hour to hit the ground. Now, I haven't done the study because I don't know the size of the particles nor the density. All we can do is speculate. Point is, if somebody says, oh, it's a small particle, it takes a long time to drop. That is a false statement. The first thing you must ask is, how dense is that small particle? Is it a lead particle or is it a balsa wood particle? Aha. Stay vigilant, my friends. We must stay on these folks. Make a video, go into a chat, at least add your 10 cents. Now, if somebody's got a slightly different prospect on something, don't jump down their throat, because one of the things folks are doing right now, we're all on the same side. But what difference does it make if the sun is not, if they can't see the blue tint? Some people are colorblind to certain colors. I'm not saying that's good, bad, or this guy was colorblind. That's not my point. We all perceive things. There were 3 of us who saw blue. One guy saw white, and the other guy was like, yellow, white, something. Anyway, to the point, though, 3 of us agreed. And the other 2 didn't agree on either one or any of the 3. So, but the sun has changed. We all agreed on that point. So 5 of us agreed that the sun had changed. And the color was different, was not the same, and that the rays, whatever, it was bothering us all differently than it did 5 or 10 years ago, especially when we were kids in the 60s. Focus on what you agree on. If you all agree that somebody's being nasty to us, it doesn't matter if one of us got hit with a 2x4 and one of us got hit with a brick. If we both got hit, we're both on the same team. We got to stop quibbling. Got to stop bickering about the little things. Look at the big picture, okay? They're hammering us with these chemtrails. What's in it is important. The fact, oh, well, I don't know if it falls quick. Well, stop bickering about it. It's going to come down. If it's up there, it's going to come down, okay? So we need to quit bickering about how fast, what color it is. Doesn't matter. When you look in the skies and the chemtrails are there and it's obviously not a contrail, we're all on the same side. Quit bickering about the little details, okay? Stop with that, okay? Stop with that. Like, for example, the Los Angeles thing. I'm sorry, Las Vegas thing. Los Angeles. They're going to have trouble too, by the way, because it's near Hollywood. The Vegas thing, for example, Paddock. People want to know what his motive was. Who cares? I don't mean to be rude, but let's get facts. Let's back up first. First, you got to prove the man did it. There's not enough proof that Paddock did it by himself. That's number one. Not enough bullet casings in the room. The picture of the guy who was dead on the floor was not Paddock. There are so many people who have come out, who makeup artists and people in theater and films and people who work on dead people who have been shot and make them up and put them back together again to be presentable to the families. Nobody agrees that that picture of the dead person on the floor in the room was or is Paddock. From the pictures of who Paddock was, all this, his beard was gone overnight or magically. His forehead, for example, the hair color was the wrong color. There was a tattoo on his neck that wasn't there. So many obvious things that was not Paddock. So why are people worried about what his motive was when it wasn't him? You follow me? Whoever was laying dead or whoever they pretended was dead, could be a submission. Paddock wasn't the guy. So why worry about motive when he wasn't it? Focus on, was it really him? Like, for example, when Oswald did it. 3 shots rang out. Well, not everybody agreed with that one back then, but they were murdered to keep their mouth shut. Zapruder film was confiscated and obfuscated and re-edited, and that is not the original film. No, because we saw it back then. And then the FBI put out their official version, and we all went, we didn't have VCRs or machines we could record back then. But a lot of us remembered that ain't what we, wait a minute, you showed that to us once, that's not it. That's not it. And forensics who say that a shot from the back will make your brain blow backwards. Are you serious? They've done so many tests to show it would take a front shot to blow the back of your head out. Duh. Deer hunters around the world are going, sorry, that doesn't happen in real life. So we need to stay on these people. We need to look at small, obvious things. Don't worry about what the motive was. Don't worry about the number of guns. They say he shot 540 people, killed 50. That's 600 rounds at least. Where are the 600 bullet casings? None of the pictures show more than maybe 200 shell casings total in all the pictures. And the forensics folks from Vietnam and Gulf War and all these folks are looking at these things going, no, there should be a pile of brass on the ground from all over the place, you know? The gun should have been strewn and bullet holes. There wasn't any bullet holes in the walls. Nobody suggested down the hall. Now, did he open the door and shoot? Because the pictures of the door show the bullets going from the outside into the room. Why? Because the splinters. You don't get splinters from a gun going this way. The splinters would be poking out. None of them are. All the splinters are from the outside being shot in. The splinters are on the inside of the door, not the outside of the door. He had to have opened the door to shoot 200 rounds. 200 rounds would require 450 round clips. He would have had to stop firing, which if it were me in the hallway, I'd have hauled butt before he got a chance to reload again for another 50 shots. There's no way he had 200 rounds he could fire at the same time. If he used one gun with 50 rounds, the barrel would have been so hot he would have had to change weapons. He would have had to change weapons. If he changed weapons, whoever got shot in the hall, if he did, would have had plenty of time to haul ass. Excuse me, but he cut off. Didn't. So many things. So many things. Where are the bullet holes in that hallway? How come he only got hit once out of 200 rounds? Why didn't he run after 50 shots? And there was an obvious lull in the, in his reloading or grabbing another gun or whatever. He would have had to open that door. Otherwise, the door would have been blasted out. The door would have just been from the outside. It wasn't. It was busted inside. None of the splinters are going the correct way. Not for 200 bullets. And if he had opened the door to shoot, which to me would have been the only way, then whoever was down the hall would have known he wasn't standing in the doorway any longer. They had to go get another gun and reload. Run! Crawl! Get out of there! Nope. He stayed for the whole 200 rounds and then he left. But the cops in the hallway 10 minutes before, they didn't say that there was no reports of 200 rounds coming down the hallway. They said they were outside and could hear gunshots going off inside the room. So that whole statement about Jesus getting, he might have got shot. I don't know. But the rest of it's a lie. 200 rounds down the hallway. Why didn't the two cops that were there early on that hallway, why didn't they get shot? Why didn't they hear it? Why didn't they say the door was open? Why? There are so many questions about that. But the thing is that they're all going, oh, Paddock did it all by himself. I'm sorry. Old men can do great things. Even if they're like triggered or something. I have done things when I didn't think I was able, but the situation called for it. But to fire close to 1,000 rounds because not every shot hit someone. Okay, so 600, even if it was just 600 rounds, there were not 600 bullet casings. So why are we worried about whether or not it was Paddock and what his motive was? Wasted energy. First, we should ask, where are the rest of the bullet casings? Where's the rest of the brass? How could he fire down a hall, 200 rounds? Where are the bullet holes? Show me the pictures. Okay. That hallway should be in shambles. Okay. It should just be rotted up with 200 rounds. Come on. Okay. And a fairly, close range down the hall. Okay. What about the two cops that were in the hallway, 5-10 minutes in? No shots down the hall. No mention of a wounded man. No mention of the hallway being, shredded with 200 rounds. We should be asking those questions, not what Paddock's motive was. We should be questioning. Forensic people have looked at, surgeons have looked at the picture of the dead Paddock and said, that ain't the guy. They've also said that the wounds and the pictures of people wounded in the videos, there's no way that those were actually traumatic wounds, because they work with trauma patients on a day-to-day basis, and they're going, sorry, nope, that's no, sorry. If this girl was supposedly bleeding out, then why was she bleeding out while he was over checking some fat lady's pulse, and he was doing it wrong to begin with? How he was holding the arm, blah, 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 and he had to step over a girl who's supposedly gushing blood to check this fat lady's pulse. I mean, the entire scene is just so outrageous. Why are we worried about his motive? It wasn't him. I mean, we need to focus on other things that we can count or not count. Where are the 200 bullet holes? Because if it's a closed hallway, they should be able to identify every single hole and from which direction and what their trajectory was. They should have been able to dig out every single one of those bullets and have them as evidence. Here are 200 bullets that we pulled out of the hallway. Not a word. Where's forensics? I mean, you know, you've watched crime scenes, and Columbo would go over with a pocket knife and dig a bullet out from behind a picture, out of the wall or something. I mean, come on. It's been on every cop show for the last 40 years. And what, they don't have one bullet from the hallway? Not one bullet has showed up. Or could they match it to a gun? Not one piece of lead. You can't be serious. But you want me to believe the rest of the story. Are you serious? Friends, don't let this go. I swear to God, I don't care what somebody says about the JFK stuff. Yes, no, maybe, but no. If they blocked out anything on any piece of paper, I want to find out who did it. Because the person who redacted or took a black marker to any document that was supposed to have been sealed and then allowed to be shown, any black mark on any piece of paper, they should look for the fingerprints on that thing, and they should arrest them and hang them for treason. Period. So if you're out there and you've got a black marker, you better not. I'm telling you, people are going to be so ticked off. We can't let them get away with this. But we got to stop arguing amongst ourselves. Stop bickering. Stop bickering about the little teeny-tiny little itty-bitty parts that don't mean a squat, okay? Focus on what is important. Where are the bullet holes? Where are the shells? You know, how fast can someone shoot 3 rounds like Lee Harvey Oswald? He couldn't. Nobody could. Nobody could prove it. And they have proven time and time and again that you don't shoot someone in the back of the head and have their brain fly out backwards onto the trunk of a limousine. Had to have been a front shot. Had to have been a front shot. No way around it. Period. So, the lies they give us, you must discern and tell your fellow brothers and sisters, we all have a problem here. We got an issue. And we all need to look at it collectively. We don't need to bicker. We don't need to fight. We don't need to say, oh, there's more barium than aluminum. Aluminum doesn't give us heart. It doesn't matter. Is it in the sky? You look up, yes. There's proof, videos, blah, blah, blah. Are the chemtrails there? The answer is yes. What's in them? Not good, but let's not bicker over it. Let's get them to stop them, period, for any reason. Stop it. Stop it. That we can all agree on. Stop it. Not what's in it, how much, this or that, which particle falls. Stop it. They're chemtrails, yes. How many of us want them stopped? Most of us. Stop it. Let's agree on that. Let's agree that they lied about JFK. Let's agree because of the evidence so far presented. Not saying nobody died, not saying nobody got hurt. That's not it. There is evidence that says you all are lying. You don't have enough evidence to support what you said. 200 shots should net 200 bullets, at least 150 for God's sakes. And they should be able to put them in a little bag and say, here, boom. And they should all, well, if he used 4 guns, 50 rounds apiece, because 50 rounds through is going to heat up a barrel, okay? So I don't care. You could reload a 50 round and do 100 rounds. You're going to drop that gun and get another one, okay? They get warm. Now, with that said, there should be 4, let's assume 4 rifles, 4 guns were used. Then there should be 50 with gun A's markings, 50 with the rifling of gun B, 50 with the rifling of C, and 50 with the rifling of D. And if you can't find 50 of each one, you should have enough of them to be able to link it to a one simple weapon. And there shouldn't be 5 different types of lead. There should only be 4. There shouldn't be 6 different kinds of markings on the lead. There should only be 4 or 3 or 2, depending on the, but if he used more than 4, okay, I could say 5 weapons. If there are markings from 7 or 8 different types of weapons, then guess what? It's a lie. Because more of them should match a 50-round magazine. Bang, 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 bang. Why would you shoot 20 times, put your gun down, go get another one? The guy would have run away. Which he didn't, which is also suspect to me. I would have crawled out of there if somebody was shooting down a hall at me. Scared or not, I would have crawled out of that hallway. Especially if he quit firing for a second, I'd have hauled myself out of there, Jack. At least around the corner, something. So, stop bickering. Stop bickering. If someone doesn't agree with you on all your points that feel should be met, don't sweat it. If Brother John over here, I'm making it up, if Brother John over here says, well, I believe 5 of the things you tell me, but the other 5, I just think of horse movie. Fine. But you agree that there are 5, we can agree on 5 things together that are weird. I'm willing to forget my other 5. My Brother John might catch up and go, you know what? You told me about them other 5 things. I thought about it for a day or 2, and by golly, I can agree on 3 more. That's usually what happens. Because if you plant the seed without argument, just say, have you noticed nobody's had any forensic evidence of the 200 shots down the hall? Don't say that you think it's a lie. Don't say that you don't think that Jesus got shot or that he's even a real person. No, stay away from that. Ask the question. Have you seen any evidence yet? Any pictures of the holes in the wall down the hallway? Any of the bullet fragments or any shell casings outside the door? What about the door? The door should have been either open, or if it were closed and he shot through the door, the splinters, shouldn't they all be going the right? I was curious. Have you thought about that? That's how you approach folks. You don't tell them what you think and then ask them if they agree. Ask them if they think it's weird. Ask them if they think that something's out of place. Ask them if you think that everything's adding up or not. That is what we should be saying. Not arguing about whether or not there are 5 shooters or 20. We know that one guy didn't do it. That's just bottom line. And whether or not anybody else agrees with us, we can say, well, but okay, so we're all, then if you say, I believe there was somebody else, the person that you're discussing with, I don't know. Well, just say, well, but you know, the pictures, there's just not enough shell casings on the floor. I just wonder about that. Would the FBI have moved 1,000 brass casings before they took their pictures? I'm just wondering. Don't tell them that you're right. Don't tell them. Ask them the question. Does that sound fishy to you? That's what we should all be asking. Does this sound fishy? Like Building 10. I'm sorry, Building 7 on 9/11. Hours after the Twin Towers fall, the cops and folks running, get away from Building 7. It's fixing to go. Nothing hit it. You can't start a paper fire and have a building burn down. I mean, I worked building airplanes with aluminum, and I'm telling you, an airplane does not disappear into a steel building. Take anything made of aluminum, it's not going through steel. I don't care if you take that aluminum and turn it into a super sharp point, it's not going through the steel. I don't care. It's not going. So people who believe, oh my God, nah, there's some weird stuff about 9/11. Okay. And the fact that Building 7 went down, everybody and his mother should go, oh, no planes. Sorry. No hijack. Who hijacked Building 7? You know, I want to see Mohammed standing on the top of Building 7 with, you know, with some jet fuel going, oh, I'm going to burn this building, and the building collapse, right? That makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? Where were the two guys with box cutters that broke into Building 7 and it fell down? Not enough people asking that question. Let's forget about how they did it. The fact that it went down by itself, that's the issue. And we all seen it. We all know it. That's a fact we can all agree upon. No plane hit it. What dropped it? Explosions. Duh. Proof. That's what we focus on. Then the other stuff comes out. If you talk about, oh, they used nanite stuff on the other buildings, and well, that could be true, and they did turn to dust. That's a fact, because there was no debris on the ground. But let's just say, let's just go Building 7, 911, something's up. That should be, that's our lead in. If we all agreed on that and go, wait, we want to know about Building 7, y'all, okay, Twin Tower, blah, blah. Well, what about the one that didn't get hit by a plane? Explain that one to me, please. There is no explanation except demolition by them. Now, so stop arguing. If somebody's hungry and you know it and you don't feed them, shame on you. If there's somebody that's cold and wet and you got an extra coat, or you got a coat or some dry clothes at the house and you don't share, shame on you. We have been set to argue with each other. During the Obama years, it started with Bush, though, when he said, you either for us or you're against us. Well, I'm not for war, so I must be against you. I don't want anybody to go to war unless it's necessary. It wasn't necessary. Weapons of mass destruction. You know why they really went in there? Saddam Hussein, when he was alive, found a Stargate buried in the sands there in Iraq. Saddam Hussein was trying to activate that particular Stargate to bring in folks into this realm. He didn't really know from where. He just knew there was a Stargate, and he was doing his best to activate it. Now, you don't hear about this kind of stuff because this is really under the table. However, why else would they go to a land that's just covered in sand? What's there? Why did they send Marines in? And what they do, they went in and they stole all the antiquities out of the museums. Some of them were, you know, long time old. inscriptions. Why did they want these artifacts? Because there are codes encoded in them. Okay, sort of like the the Last Supper and the Da Vinci codes. All right, there are codes in lots of stuff they've found over the years. So they went in for the Stargate, and they went for all of the antiquities, which would give them basically the Indiana Jones key, you know what I'm saying, to get to the next level kind of deal. You don't have to believe it, but what else would be a weapon of mass destruction? If they had a hold of a Stargate portal type thing where they could jump back and forth and bring that, but they're not going to tell you and me that. However, there are those who say that was the reason we were really in there. However, we still killed millions of people and did other things that were gruesome, nasty, and ugly. I mean, Abu Ghraib, for God's sakes, you know? So Trump sent some folks into Afghanistan. Now, if you've been paying any attention, you should have heard possibly about the giants of Kandahar, okay? The red-haired giants that are 12 to 20 foot tall, okay? Now, yes, there were giants in those days and after, okay, in the Bible, obviously. Check out L.A. Marzulli, okay? Steve Quayle as well, and there are other signs about giants. Bottom line, Hopi Indians, North America, out in the out west, the Grand Canyon. They won't let you in certain places of the Grand Canyons because there are bones of giants in there, okay? There were giants on the island off of the California shore, Catalina Island, I think, and that they discovered giant bones buried there, 50 years ago. Bones are gone, the pictures are gone. They all went to the Smithsonian Institute, which has been covering up along with the British Institute of Archaeology since they discovered the Sphinx, for goodness sake. They have been covering up and lying about every bit of it, because if we knew the truth, then we wouldn't be in this predicament, period. We as a humanity and as people upon this earth. So be kind to your neighbor. Oh, what I meant by the extra troops and things. Sometimes there's stuff going on and you scratch your head and go, now Trump said he wasn't going to send anybody, but there are those from other sides and from Russian intel and other places that there are spaceships and the giants who are coming out of the earth along with the reptilians and Dracos and other beings. They're coming out of the earth because of the higher vibrations, and it's driving everybody mad, including some humans. So I love you all. I know I went way longer. I wasn't even paying attention to the time. I love you all. Be kind to your neighbor. Be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive others, for they know not what they do. Don't allow them to do it again. Don't let them get off the hook. But forgive them, okay? Doesn't mean they shouldn't be punished for their whatever they did. But forgive them and mean it, okay? Because otherwise, our vibrations are not going to make it to the next level. There is a saying in the Bible, depending on which one you read and how it's said, that it is reported that Jesus said it would be easier for a man to pass through the eye of a needle than to get into heaven with, sins or being a bad person. What does that mean? Okay, think of a radio station. Think of all the different numbers on the dial. Now, the AM stations, which nobody listens to much anymore, but, you can hear 10 or 15 channels squashed into a small area, right? Well, until you get that right on one single channel without a feedback left or right of the station, you've got that correct frequency. If we don't have our frequencies cleaned, our frequencies vibrating at the right frequency, we're not going to be on the right station. So we're going to be a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, Maybe we're going to be a little bit too big to go through the hole. But if we're not at the right frequency, we can't make it. Because it's just a law. It is a fundamental law of nature, cosmic nature. So get your vibrations right. Help other people. If they start to argue with them, diffuse it. If you start to get angry back, go, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't. Let's be kind to one another. If you got anybody that you should or need to make amends with, do so. It will lift their spirit and it will lift your spirit. It will bring some type of closure. Even if the other person hates your guts, if you apologize or go, you know, I forgive you for what happened 20 years ago or last week or whatever, I forgive you. I'm not mad at you anymore. I don't want to hold any more grudges. I love you. I'm sorry for hating you for what you did to me. You don't have to apologize. I'm just saying, I forgive you. And that'll diffuse a lot. If somebody's been pissed at you and you go, and you walk up to them and go, you know, I know you've been mad at me for a long time, but I forgive you for whatever happened. I don't care about the details. I'm just telling you that the incident that happened between us or whatever, I forgive you. And I hope that if I did something wrong, also that you would forgive me. First you say, I forgive you. And then you ask, if I did something wrong in your eyes, would you forgive me back? It is so powerful. It is so powerful. Good luck to us all. I'm hoping for a nice Halloween surprise. Check out Abel Danger. He's on YouTube. I love you all. Be kind. And it's 3:20. It's 4:20 somewhere. Time to take a break and get something to drink. See ya. Stop. I hit the button.